Yo, what's good? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Hopefully I ain't too loud. Big up yourselves, man. Yeah, we got a show for you today. Like, I've been listening to what you lot been saying. Like, I've been hearing the half arguments, the half debates. I said, you know what, let's just do a show, arguments versus debates, and like, let's just do it. If you lot want to debate something, like, bring your debate, bring it to the table. Let's get into it. You know, we can do screen shares, we can do all that good stuff you're used to. You know, we can go into the subjects you want to talk about, and we can have a little debate, a little argument, a conversation, however you guys want to do it, man. Whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you happy. This is jokes and banter. Don't take it personal, innit? Don't take it personal. If you take it personal, it's on you. It's not on me. It's not on anyone else. It's on you. Yeah, it's jokes and banter. So you can say what you want, talk how you feel, say it how you see it, live it how you love it. Yeah. But we're gonna do some intro music, give you lot some time to warm up. Yeah, big up everyone, man. I'm gonna start sending out some DMs, messaging everyone, and seeing what everyone's on today, if they got something to talk about. And you can talk about anything you want to talk about, because I heard, like, you know, some of you guys going into this half kind of, you know, black and white debate, you know, some of you half gone into this, you know, religion versus non-religion kind of debate. Some of you gone into this, we've been doing kind of half conspiracy kind of debates. We've had a lot of kind of half debates, and we ain't half-hearted, is it? So this half stepping, you get me, man, a hot stepper. Don't make me laugh. Out to Sham, Natty, usual suspects, yeah. Kingo, everyone who's in the panel, like the group, like, big up yourselves, yeah, because you've been paying attention. You know, we've been doing bits, we've been doing numbers, we've been doing stuff. You know, we're growing, and we're gonna keep growing, yeah. So I'd like to hear from you guys today. You know, I don't even mind. Like, obviously, we've had arguments between particular panelists who may not like each other. Like, if you don't want to have it, you know, your debate, your argument, or whatever it is, hash anything out, you know, we can do that. If you want to play your videos, you want to play your clips, whatever it is you got to do what you got to do. It's nothing. Yeah. It's one of them Tuesdays. It's a bit dead out there today still, but let me go into some intro music. I'm going to give you lots some time to warm up, saying Izzy. Oh yeah, before I forget, it's a long weekend this weekend, isn't it? It's that Jubilee business and all that going on. So, you know, hopefully we're gonna be doing some more shows for you lot. Out to everyone who is not gonna be at work for the bank holiday, you know, we'd like to hear from you. If you got time for us, you know, come and share your time with us, share your issues, share your discussions, your topics, XYZ. And yeah, we should have a bit of extra time this weekend, didn't it? I forgot about that. I just realized it's like a 4-day weekend or something like that. Yeah. So I know obviously everyone's busy, everyone's got a life and that, you know, that's normal. We're not expecting everyone to go out of their way, you know, but if you got a little bit of time this week that you can spare, that'll be nice. We're about. So let me do some intro music.
We got the crowd going nuts. KP, the Hannibal of this bunch. A-team, with the mercs who murk and stay clean. Spit a verse superb and they fiend. Sum it in a few words, I stay me. You can see yourself out with AB. You like broke road lights, you stay green. Jealousy's a bitch, right? She won't leave. Running little freestyles with your fake team. The bank's on speed dial, blood I make cream. Chicks looking like, where you gonna take me? What you gonna buy me? Gag me, tie me. The end of this verse is so timely. You ever seen the heavyweights frame this inquiry. I'm a weapon that stop being secret. I'll tell you how we keep it, then you repeat it.
Percolating, we get this party's poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party's poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party's poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party poppin'.
Yeah, now they jumping like hot toes. Yeah, when I break it down like OXO. Take time perfecting the art form, cause no money is worse than getting what slow. Gotta keep focused, stay sharp, eyes on the prize and make progress. What? Now fam, your slang bogus. Heavy baseline, high score, game time, big bonus. Gal a wide waistline, oh no it's gold. Yes, it's the same slogan. Sit back, let one take over. Chillax, it's so good, right? We only come for give the party a good vibe. And every day I know they gal them have a good time. Ooh, she give me fever when she walk by. Singing, have you seen her leaning like the piece of cheese? Saying how you're fine, waving up for like Corona. I told you.
We keep it percolating, we get this party's poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party's poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party's poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party poppin'.
Percolate the air with the weed smoke. Percolate your rave with the pink mo. Percolate my pockets, trying to fill them up with pink notes. Keep it coming while I'm burning on that stink crow. Keep it patting up and down like a seesaw. And I'm about to blow cause I've been writing with that C4. Putting numbers on your scoreboard, game boy. Money in the bank, percolating, I'm the same boy. We don't percolate the crime like Luciano. But if it's World War III, give me plenty hollow. Vic said he's ready to die, I wanna see tomorrow. Catch me lighting up the sky like a burning arrow. Keep the party going hard, no breaks. I'll be leaving this place kinda out of my face, cause I keep them dicks pouring and that grass to my face. Always be jumping out in the place with one take. Listen.
We keep it percolating, we get this party's poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party's poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party's poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party poppin'. We keep it percolating, we get this party poppin'.
Yeah, out to all my dons out there, one take, Banana Clan, yeah, don't know, trailblazing. I'm tripping, eyes all glazed, popping them bottles like I just got paid. So all you haters and dumbass bitches, please stay the fuck up my goddamn way. And I don't wanna hear what you got to say. I'm getting money all day, no time to play. I don't remember seeing you come around when times were hard for me. But man, I've been around. And now you wanna know because I got money in my bank, money in my pockets, and now you wanna show me love. I swear I've been around, but I've never been down enough for these hoes. Ain't got the time for no bitch, so please respect the time on my rolling. Cause I've been around, up and down, been around the block and came back. And I don't need the chick to be filthy rich, so I ain't trying to fall in that trap. And I ain't needing no new friends, just I got more M's in a big white house like the rats. So I got a flow like Semtex, nuclear missiles and napalm, burning up the track. I'm up with that London, South Side, where we're living and I stay looking good like a 3D Cinemax. On point like a bank transaction or 3.58, oh yeah, give me that. Hard work and determination, I've got operating on a daily basis. I ain't coming out if it ain't paper chasing, cause I'm on your mad, but there's no time for wasting. I'm tripping, eyes all glazed, popping them bottles like I just got paid. All you haters and dumbass bitches, please stay the fuck out my goddamn way. And I don't wanna hear what you got to say. I'm getting money all day, no time to play. And I don't remember seeing you come around when times got hard for me. But man, I've been around. And now you wanna know because I got money in my bank, money in my pockets, so now you wanna show me love. I swear I've been around, but I never been down and out for these hoes. Ain't got the time for no bitch, so please respect the time of my roll. Because I've been around, stayed around, dumping through a stage, I was playing it down. Got tired of the games, waiting around, realizing I used to be the same, but now I don't mind being lonely. Bitch, don't phone me, cause I ain't really got the time on my Rolex. Don't Facebook, don't send no text, just one night, then it's back to the project. Protest, get vexed, get fired. high enough. When it comes to a bird trust, I don't give a duck, cause life is a muscle. Gotta live it up with a bottle of that rosé. Pass me a glass, I'm here for a minute, so you might catch a glance. If your body ain't fit, don't ask for a dance, cause I'm too real, I won't ask for your number. Conversation right now to advance, I'm flipping, eyes all blaze. Popping them bottles like I just rock days. All you haters and dumb-ass bitches, please stay the fuck out my goddamn way. And I don't wanna hear what you got to say. I'm getting money all day, no time to play. And I don't remember seeing you come around when time got after me. But man, I've been around. And now you wanna know because I got money in my bank, money in my pockets, so now you wanna show me love. I swear I've been around, but I've never been down and out with these hoes. Ain't got the time for no bitch, so please respect the time of my road because I've been around. Learn them books, up them packs, pay that tax, we all got options. On credit, APR stats, pay it all back, now I got options. Rome on wheels, vampire tints, chocolate mint, options. You can love me or hate me, everyone's got their options. Man don't wait, man just blaze. Sit down in the big man section. Y'all get brave and wave. Hashtag drunk in a white rum session. Red gym vegetable aid. Try not walk in a big man section. Like a CD get ejected. My whole team roll with protection. Them way of talking bossy, but really that's just projection. Mentally like an infection. Watch how I eat these MCs for breakfast. Big man, I got no ops. Just money making operations. Beef don't never get squashed. I just put them on the grill and steak them. I see man, but I don't watch man. No time, never watch no haters. Plus them man are working dirty. Unclean, never watch like pagans. Blacks killing blacks, it's murder. Just look at that situation. Man running up the mount on snaps. Now body's laying down on the pavement. Learn them books, uplift them packs. Pay that tax, we all got options. On credit, APR stats. Pay it all back, now I got options. Rome on wheels, vampire tints, chocolate mint, options. You can love me or hate me, everyone's got their options. Do what's right or just do crime. 9 to 5 or go do time. Expect from me some integrity, but these MCs got no spine. What I see from a man on road don't match what I hear online. Too many man fake it to make it. That flow you drop is so basic. It's smoke screen and props. Certain man got it twist like locks and basic. I hate when the talent is wasted. Some of these lines are copy and pasted. They don't want to keep it real. Hannibal Lecter changing faces. Blind men leading the nation, and they don't even know the basics. The devil is so persuasive. The system needs replacing. Switch to the spiritual healing. Be careful who you're embracing. Got love for the lower class people, no love for the Mason nonsense. The secret society, who's gonna take that option? Big wheels, never 10 toes. When I slide through, do it big. No two-stepping, I'm table hopping, taking pictures at the gig. Pictures turn into a flick. I was feeling kinda lit. Halfway driving home, I got blue lights doing bits. Big wheels, never 10 toes. When I slide through, do it big. No two-stepping, I'm table hopping, taking pictures at the gig. Pictures turn into a flick. I was feeling kinda lit. Halfway driving home, I got blue lights doing bits. Work hard, I don't play. I've been working on a payday. Federales wanna slow me down, wanna rub me up the wrong way, eh? Right beside me on the motorway, doing 69, then they pull me over like Mr. Wise. You were driving slow, can you tell me why? I was at work, the day was rough. Didn't really feel no need to rush. Actually, I'm on my way home. And is it a crime driving slow? He said, okay, Mr. Smart Man, can you please jump out of the car now? Searching my property, why you wanna take my liberty? Please don't start all your names. Big wheels, never 10 toes. When I slide through, do it big. No two-stepping, I'm table hopping, taking pictures at the gig. Pictures turn into a flick. I was feeling kinda lit. Halfway driving home, I got blue lights doing big wheels, never 10 toes. When I slide through, do it big. No two-stepping, I'm table hopping, taking pictures at the gig. Pictures turn into a flick. I was feeling kinda lit. Halfway driving home, I got blue lights doing bits. It's crazy outside. I seen it all with my 2 eyes. Make sure you ain't on the wrong team, flying like Icarus too high. Wait.
Noisy house.
Yeah.
Cause I was living in the fast lane, speeding in the sports range, but then it all changed. I'm not the same P that the streets knew, but I'm the same child that my mummy grew. I done dumb dirt, she ain't even have a clue. Feds up my ass, I just call them bugaboos. Money's low and I ain't even moving through. My nigga call at 8 AM and I miss him too. This is a life crisis, so I'ma rise my stick. Niggas fake, so they ride his dick. Not gay, so I handle my shit.
What up?
Great that I do my thing. Lost a friend to the system, one to the graveyard. Yeah, life's hard. I'm on with certain friends, I don't see them, but my heart's cold. I see them when I see them. Yeah.
Photograph on the shelf, same picture in your album. Nowadays I just get around some more than I used to. All the things that we go through, need a family to hold you down. Yeah. Sad stories don't amaze me, so I pray the ghetto don't change me. No more than it has, my life's crazy. Seen it all and got lazy. Lost a couple niggas on the way. Paid them my respects and tried to keep it wavy. Never swerve. Try and bring it to the south, bring it to the army. Never chose to be so grimy. But nowadays they bang bangers in the hood. This ain't the 80s. Butterfly knife, nigga, keep it in the Joe 90s. Got my hammer in the whip and a dope lighty. And I'm handling my flip like a lion out the cage. Get the money in the streets, get the money on the stage. Forever chasing papers at home, I just never stayed. No shitting on my door, I'm keeping it far away. No Rolex, but I'm sneaking the Cartier. Gotta shine for my peeps who didn't make it or passed away. Photograph on the shelf, same picture in your album. Nowadays I just get around some more than I used to. All the things that we go through, need a family to hold you down.
Yeah, listen. That's how the game goes. Money's low, ain't got time for lames and hoes. Used to run with a team, now I'm going solo. Me, my machine tucked underneath my polo. 15, I was letting it rain.
Yo.
Cast up a jack hoodies. Few bullies, so I'm used to
Hello.
I ain't got none, I stress a lot.
Yo. Who goes there?
Hi,
Who's this?
it's me.
Who's me?
The Attraction Act 2.0 in the house.
Okay, what's happening, mate? I'm assuming you got something you want to share with us.
Hey, I got something to share.
Talk to me, man. Say what you got to say, bro.
Super Beckio powers.
Okay. Why have you got two profiles popping up? Well, we're doing some intro music anyway. I can see you now. Okay, I see who you are. All right, mate.
Yeah, let's go to my magical stream with the Super Beckio powers.
All right, mate. I'm going to mute you for a second because we're doing some intro music. But once you start talking, yeah, you feel free to say what you want to say, yeah? All right, bro. Nice to have you over here anyway.
Violation, then you're just about had enough for the take and trust. Yeah. Check. Ooh. They don't even know who it is. Listen. Two different minds, heart racing. How do you react to a situation? Yeah, man, on a halfway violation, then you're just about had enough for the taking. Antagonized, frustration. Now we got a hyped up situation. What? Should I be cool and I wanna waiting? The flip side could be devastating. Can flip that cash, get that stash. If you talk that trash, you better get that mash. Nothing like a movie, don't try and make a scene. This is real life, better stick to what you mean. I don't fight fear, light years, rehearsing, never change, still the same damn person. Keep it real, ain't really on the chat. Disrespect me, I might aim for your hat. Will I kill? I think death's a fact. Like most rappers out here, extra whack, forget hoes. Give me the money in big portions. Wifey at home and we into contortion. Old school flow, extra weight. Anytime I eat food, bring an extra plate. All these young bucks talking, extra fake. When you run this track, give it extra play. Come on, 2 different minds, start racing. How do you react to a situation? Man, on a halfway violation, then you're just about had enough for the taking. Antagonized, frustration. Now we got a hyped up situation. Should I be cool on a one-away thing? The flip side could be devastating.
Like Jesus.
Baby, let me know what it is for you.
You know I'm trying to figure it out.
Baby, let me know what's the deal with you.
Trying to figure out how to deal with you.
Baby, let me know if it's real to you.
You know I keep it real to you. Yeah.
So let me know how it feels to you.
Listen, my life is like a thunder. Always on my feet, 4 wheels on my car, so I'm always on the road. I try to keep relationships, had to let them go, cause I'm stacking up my paper, so I'm always on my mode. Weekends come around and I find you in my zone, playing Dolly House, half just walking around my home. With the cream for my cookie, the topping on my pizza, pull the pin on this grenade and it'll be fire in the hole. All I'm trying to say is that it is what it is. It's real, say it's real, but if it's not, let it go. I ain't need no more complications in my soul. Might let you in my mind, but the rest of me is cold. If the truth is being told, I've been in love before, and it can break a guy down, just sitting on the floor. Love is like life, someone told me life is war. So if this is just a game, tell me cause I'm out the door, baby, let me know.
Baby, let me know what it is for you. I wanna know what it is for you. Baby, let me know what's the deal with you. I need to know how to deal with you. Baby, let me know if it's real to you. I wanna know if it's real for you. So let me know how it feels to you.
I'm smoking everywhere but road. Too many eyes, too many undercover. Only got that stinky crow. Smoke till I feel wave, then I'm rolling up. I get it by the grams and O's. No Dutch, untouched, this is Harry. I burn it when I'm feeling low. I smoke that with that straight cheese. Smoke that, push that, perk that, crun that. Sticky got me sucking on the blunt like I'm trying to leave a hickey, sipping Henny by the bottle. Trying to make it fizzy with that pink roasting shit. We been getting busy with a smile on our faces, cause we been getting buzzing. Got the Dutchie on my left, so I pass it to my cousin. No more stress in my mind, cause I feel like I'm a rubbish smoking trees all the time, but it don't affect my budget. Couple racks in my stash, couple brands on my clothes. Big tool in the metal box stashed in the drawer. We say money over war, weed over problems, until I got a resolution that's gonna solve them. Cause I deserve them, something like a solvent. They say my reputation can attest to my involvement. 2 a.m. can't sleep, so I spark up and tell myself this will be my last one. I'm smoking everywhere but road. Too many eyes, too many undercover. I only got that stinky crow. Smoke till I feel wave, then I'm rolling up. I get it by the grams and O's. No Dutch, untouched, this is Harry. I burn it when I'm feeling low. I smoke that with that straight cheese.
Moon and stars, Venus to Mars, interstellar craft, come floating with the gods. Live in the mirage, the beat of my heart, be the engine to my soul when I drive no cars. Drive no cars, fly no planes, down never grounded. Drive through the rain, light through the dark, cold in the heat, heal through the pain. Blood on the streets, love through the hate not to love. Just another day I'm getting grace from above. I started when I stopped, righted my wrongs, brought courage to my fears, put my life in the sun. The fire's in my eyes, so they kinda stay. Far from my heart, cut a yard of pray. Hard as the spark, and my jab is way harder than Marvin, the haggler's great. But I'm on the par with my huff and say
your thoughts,
half to the mind.
Look into yourself and it's vast what you'll find.
Mind and the body,
spirit and the soul.
Life is a test, what's next to behold?
Life is a gift,
work is the pain.
Back and forth on the rails like a train.
Drives you insane,
stained with the blood.
Most people say that they do it for the love, man.
Drifting like the clouds overhead, traveling through time while I'm lying in my bed. I'm seeing all the things that I've done, what I've said. Seen people from the past that of course now are dead. I spoke to my mother in the words that she said. Has me feeling like I was on the road to revenge. Falling out with peeps that were supposed to be friends. Realized certain man wasn't close to begin. Spraying for a win, prepared for a loss. Some straight from the park, but we stayed on the course. And Return of the Jedi, same as before. Demonstrate for the lost ones, playing with the force, playing with your life. Life's not a game. Take pride in the youth and grow through the change. Good times, bad ones, go through the pain. Elevate via signals that go to the brain.
Food for your thoughts,
half to the mind.
Look into yourself and it's vast what you find.
Mind and the body,
spirit and the soul.
Life is a test, what's next to behold?
Life is a gift,
work is the pain.
Back and forth from the rails like a train.
Drives you insane,
stained with the blood.
Most people say that they do it for the love.
Now,
food for your thoughts,
path to the mind.
Look into yourself and it's vast what you'll find.
Mind and the body,
spirit and the soul.
Life is a test, what's next to behold?
Dangerous minds, living in some dangerous times. Man are telling plagiarous lies. Preachers in the church don't care about saving your life, just wanna make you pay for your tithe. Dangerous minds, living in some dangerous times. Man are telling plagiarous lies. Preachers in the church don't care about saving your life, they just wanna make you pay for your tithe. My brother's rich made, them boy a bitch made. Sharp like the Stanley, you're the rusty switchblade. Make money, get paid, spend money, big waves. Living in the devil's playground, they don't whip slaves. Smile when they dig graves, brag when they get brave. I just wanna live life, got time for this dead weight. Heavy like a lead plate, weighing in my head weight. Messing up the plane as we line up on the jetway. They don't want to debate, that's why they always run way. Talking politics in this world full of gunplay. Work for the mundane, from Sunday to Sunday. You could do it your way, type of shit that mum say. Figure what would dad say, he was talking set way. Living different lives, but we're coming from the set place. She was talking big talk, he was talking spread day. But there's only one God, we're fighting for the set race.
Yeah, big up, Natty. Big up, brother.
I make a point like a compass. Hit this Christopher Columbus. I never roll with the pompous. Ain't worth the wool in my jumpers. I never celebrate Krampus. No hallows, even my radius. Only one race who's an alien. I don't believe in the atheists. Tell me which one is the craziest. Religion or walking away from it. Walking away, you might think there's a choice, but really there's nothing to gain from it. I don't believe in the patriots. You never own it, you've taken it. Murdering, pillaging, raping and plundering, happily putting your name to it. Federal state controls the mass. No can do, can't go for that. Where my OGs, where my soldiers at? Out to my watchers who know the crack. Muhammad Ali was the greatest. Winston Churchill's a racist. Ain't no place for a black man in a white man's army full of hatred.
Yeah, I hope you all enjoying the intro music. This is the warm up, yeah?
Yeah.
I got Natty 200 over here. I got video tracks for Natty. We're gonna have some discussion in a second. Just relax. Let the music fill you with vibes. Jokes and banter, you know where it is.
Yeah. the racks. Man put in work for a couple grand. That's about a month's work in a real job. Quit playing with your life like the running man. Cause you man up, let it stand down. Make a wrong move, you could be a man down. Being rolled don't make you a grown up, but all that hot-headed thing will make you stand out. Certain man do it rolled and it's big time. Certain other fellas didn't have it planned out. Not the youngest
Yeah,
grown
I'm
up.
hip.
Well, looking for a handout, for a lick, for a move, for a scam now. Just an old thing looking for a gram now. And it's not Instagram, they're into fam, it's the white thing cooking in the background. Now look what we're dealing with. Money and drugs, buying cars from the dealership. Too many guys on that ego trip. But serious, they don't even know how to control their emotions. I'm staying composed, breaking molds, I'm evolving. I told them, now look what we're dealing with. Money and drugs, buying cars from the dealership. Too many guys on that ego trip, but serious, they don't even know how to control their emotions. I'm staying composed, breaking molds, I'm evolving. I told them, look what we're dealing with. All of the bullshit we feed our kids. So many negatives, too many relatives, letting the K and the ego split. We so aggressive with attitude, volatile, violent, like demon flips. The way we're killing each other, we're killing our brothers. The youngers repeated it. Too much knife and the gun crime. Brothers on 23 bang up, they don't see sunshine. Got caught by the one time, but it's life if we get caught one time. We can all do better or get worse. Real talk, fam. This is not a punchline. Cause nowadays, man move bait, hit 'em up in the daytime. Blatant front line, no lie. Now look what we're dealing with. Hustlers, trappers, and drilling kids. Don't give a damn if you're feeling me. I'm just keeping it real. I'm on some different tip. We need some guidance and leadership. Too many guys on that ego trip. We need to take ourselves serious. Don't be delirious. Use our initiative. Now look what we're dealing with. Money and drugs, buying cars from the dealership. Too many guys on that ego trip. But serious, they don't even know how to control their emotions. I'm staying composed, breaking molds, I'm evolving. I told them, now look what we're dealing with. Money and drugs, buying cars from the dealership. Too many guys on that ego trip. But serious, they don't even know how to control their emotions. I'm staying composed, breaking molds, I'm evolving. I told them.
Yeah, I think we're gonna stop it right there. Yeah, big up everyone who's joined up in the room already. I don't know what happened to I can't remember his name. Video Tracks. Yeah, if you're arriving back, arrive back. If you want to have a discussion, I don't know, man. I wasn't sure about that one there. Still, I felt like he was just waiting to do a porn bomb, you know, like that. I don't know if anyone else felt the same way, so I was real cautious there. I just kept hitting that button. Anytime it looked like he got close to his computer, I just put it back to my screen. But Video Tracks, as long as you can have a good discussion and you don't do no porn bombing, we will allow you in future. Yeah. Big up Triller Slayer, Willie B. Don't know. Out to the brothers then. Yeah. Man like Willie B. He's got tracks as well, you know. I just remember that. Willie B, you're due to send me some tracks so I can play some of your tracks in the intro as well, man. I know you got some fire tracks as well. Yeah. So yeah, out to Triller Slayer, out to 92 Dread, Video Tracks Fanatic, Suge, Cotton Socks, Urban Analysis. Yeah, we out here, man. So yeah, I was saying before, I want you lot to talk about your beefs today. You know, like that. Not your beefs like that, but your debates, your arguments, you know, the things that you would like to see changing, the things that you don't understand, that you think shouldn't exist, the things that you think get in the way, the things that bother you, whatever those things may be. Like I said, you know, some people have been over here talking about, you know, religion, XYZ, 92 Dread, you're one of them. You know, so if you want to do a religious debate on, you know, religion, on the authenticity, on the history, on, you know, the meanings, whatever it is you want to debate, it's open for you today. Talk your things, yeah. I've heard some of you over here talking this black and white stuff, like I said earlier. If you want to go black and white with it, you want to talk about, you know, the old school, the new school, slavery, whatever it is you want to talk about, you know, white privilege, black privilege, if you think it exists. I don't know, man. But whatever you lot got to say, just bring your debate in it, and we can have a open discussion on it. You know, we're gonna make sure it's fair. Everyone gets to say their thing. No one gets cut off. You know, everyone has to explain themselves properly as well. Then, you know, so if someone doesn't give a proper explanation, you know, we're gonna be, you know, seeking one at least. No, we ain't demanding nothing from no one. It's jokes and banter. Don't take it too serious. I don't know if Natty's going to do something, but I feel like maybe I should just go back to some more intro music because it seemed like you lot was enjoying that. I didn't mean to cut you short to be horrible or nothing.
Well, go on.
They are.
Jeez.
So have you
I was
got
about to
any
say, man.
go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say about that Burgers Hill thing, man.
What's that?
About all them
Burgers
youths that were
Hill?
meant to be meeting up. Yeah, for some freaking
Oh, what, Burgess
arms
Park?
house. That's it, yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
apparently it's been cancelled, innit?
Yeah, cancel what though?
Burgess Park.
What, cancel the party?
Yeah, they cancelled the park, man. It's not going down.
And what type of music was there?
All different types, man. Like,
Right, so what? They're gonna lock off the whole thing because there's rumors.
Yeah, man. Yeah, by the sound of it. And when you say it's rumors, we don't know. I don't know if it's rumors. I wasn't involved.
Bro, this is the type of thing, yeah, that they're gonna try and use for Carney.
Yeah, but they've done that before.
Yeah. Because you see what it is. All them people that have bought their houses in Notting Hill, they don't want that anymore because they're not either from that generation. You know what I mean? They're not either from that part of town, because you wouldn't move to Notting Hill knowing full well that people have twice in the year, or you might as well say once a year, yeah, but 2 days out of the year where they have a big party, everything's shut down and it's done, innit? So why would you move there and then start complaining about noise? It don't make no sense.
Yeah, that does make sense in the way you explained it still, because it's not like it's unexpected.
You get what I'm saying? So through the hype of Notting Hill Carnival, which is obviously, you know, introduced by a certain ethnic group, that's what made them house prices go up. You know what I'm saying? That's what made that place become what it is. Do you know what I mean? When people hear Notting Hill, first thing they think, yeah, Carney, good vibe, innit? But obviously, as these conservative people, they don't want it there anymore. And I think somebody, I think I was chatting to in the group chat, they were saying, yeah, but up in Nottingham, they do their thing, up in Luton and all these places. But you know what it is? Because those places need to build up, innit?
But what's more important though? Like, what's more important, the event continuing to go on or people's safety? Because even if we say it's a rumor, then, and I agree with you and say it's a rumor that you know, bunches or groups or small numbers of people were going up there just to, you know, war with each other and try and injure each other. You know, the authorities have got a duty of care to everyone, innit? They got to do something. Otherwise, it's gonna fall back on them, innit?
Well, this is the thing, man. Like, obviously, I asked my son about it. He goes, I don't know nothing about it. Like, not a lot of people know about this. I don't know if they've just put this in there, because this is the thing with that media and Twitter thing, man. Like, you can post anything. You can post, there's going to be a fight down in Speaker's Corner. Yeah, like, this person's going to get it. Yeah.
And they always got police down there as well at Speaker's Corner. And I suppose technically they could just have police in the park, in Burgess Park, you know, monitoring the situation, making sure that one goes down. But then which police wants to put their life at risk is the next question. If that is the case.
Their lives at risk. They put their lives at risk all the time. I mean, you got to look at the level of the threat. I mean, even if they cancel it, why aren't these people meant to be meeting up down there just to rob people anyway? So police are saying, look, we're going to have heavy police presence there. Then why not have police presence there on the day?
That is a good argument still. But in the same respect, I just say, you know, most people who's got a job, they don't want to make their job harder. They're trying to make their job easier. You know?
Nah, I see what you mean.
So at the end of the day, it's not like I'm not trying to take either side, innit? Like I ain't on the police's side, but at the same time, I do understand that they're doing a job. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And I ain't on the side of the youth that's going out there, or the people, whoever it is, that's gonna rob people or, you know, do any type of badness. But at the same time, you know, I recognize that there's people out there that's doing these things, and you know, without any kind of control measures, then you know, someone innocent's gonna be hurt, isn't it? Or they're gonna be robbed. Or they're gonna be robbed. Oh no, man. I'm not going.
No, I mean, well, I'd only go just for like a bite, but it wouldn't stop me from going because that's why I've got faith in the law. Otherwise, I might as well not walk out. Like, if I know there's someone just being stabbed on the street, are we all supposed to not go out?
No, but that's the point though. Like, obviously, like it's not something I'm going to, so maybe that's why I'm not really too concerned with it. But for people who's going, there might be more of a concern, and you know, people might have an anxiety about it, X, Y, Z. So maybe that's why the authorities are gonna get involved as quick as they did. Then I don't know, bro.
So you know, like when all South London met up, and they all got stopped at just near the Oval Tube Station, bare of them, yeah. Like they had a little bit of information, so they were able to act, and that was on the day of Carnival. So bare South man, all Plasto, a few of them East man that was saying, yeah, South East school gonna link up and all that shit, doing Mazdas. Like they stopped all that shit, and really, if you think about it, man, like they're trying to like, bro, good people like us who want the venue to happen, yeah. We ain't gonna have that. So it's a small handful, innit? I'm just finding, I'm just seeing how they're like, how this media thing, yeah, can be put up, and no one really knows. Like, it's barely like it only come out in like what, a few days before the event was meant to happen. So who knows, man? Maybe there might be other motives behind it.
Yeah, it could be. Who knows? I don't like to second guess things. I just let them be what they are. But obviously, we'll see in due course, innit? Well, I'm sure we'll find out at some point. You know, if it happens or if it don't happen. You know, or why it didn't or did. I should laugh, but it's not something I'm going to, so I just wasn't worried about it like that. Do you know where I'm coming from?
But it's just
that's a young people's thing.
It's just a shame, man, because the people that advertise in it, do you know what I mean? It's part of that ethnic group, do you know what I'm saying? And I'm just thinking, like, if anything like this happens, then this could start cancelling out people's shows.
Yeah. Man just advertise they're gonna do a madness at your show. That's it.
They don't cancel out football. They won't cancel out football though when, you know, they're advertising that they're gonna meet up and have a tear up.
I hear you, but they expect it.
Just saying. I know you might say, oh yeah, but that's because that's football and it's a sport, but it's still two grown ass people wanting to meet up and cause damage to anybody.
I'd say it's expected at the football though. You know, like that, it's expected. So because it's so expected, it's like that's the norm with football, innit? There's always gonna be a gang of police there and X, Y, Z.
So are we saying that? So we're saying that now that anyone wants to have a venue now, and if someone puts up a post saying, "Yeah, people are going to get stabbed tomorrow, we're all coming down there," like, you're happy for your venue to get locked off?
I wouldn't say I'm happy for my venue to get locked off, but I'm just gonna adhere to the fact that these things can happen. So we have to be cautious, and we have to take precautions, and you know, find ways of working around these situations rather than, you know, them just settling for less basically, or going without, or just allowing the situation to erupt, if that makes sense. We've got to find control
investigating it. You have to find out why, a deeper meaning why, you know. And first of all, I mean, normally you'd find out why some people want to meet up. I've never known people to advertise, say, yeah, we're gonna have a robbing day. I've heard people say, yeah, like you know, carnage, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
Bless
You
up,
know what I
bless up,
mean?
John B as well, man. Bless up, brother. Bless up. But yeah, go on. What was you
Yeah,
saying?
big
Natty?
up yourself, John, man. Now, I know, like, people that do, like, have beef in it. Like, there might be a certain group of people or two sides in it to a story, but just to advertise, yo, anyone down there who's not robbing is going to get robbed is mad.
Yeah, that is a bit mad. I don't know. But people are crazy, man. People
funny.
do crazy things.
Yeah, that's why I didn't take that serious, bro, because it doesn't have to happen there, bro. There's bare places. You could say, like, Westfields, you know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah.
Like, bro, just say, listen, Westfields, for the rest of the year, for the rest of the month, yeah, get robbed or start robbing, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you gonna get from Westfields, bro? I think people are gonna have a few more racks in it.
Yeah, it sounds a bit mad still, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, instead of trying to rob up a tea party.
I don't even understand this whole thing of the youth going to what they're gonna rob from each other. Like, if it's like, especially kids, how much money could they really possibly have on them? I don't know, bro.
That's what I'm trying.
I just don't think it's worth it.
That's what I'm saying.
It is what it is when you're young, innit? When you're young, you don't see things the same as when you're an adult, though. So I can't speak for the youth, innit? I can only speak to them, innit? And in that regard, I would just say, like, they gotta do what they gotta do, innit? Like, I can't stop them, but I just don't think it's wise. I'd advise against it, and I'd advise the adults and, you know, the people who are in control of that situation to find control mechanisms. Like I said, like, that's all we can really do, innit?
So let me ask you, so during times like this, right, do you think that, especially around the Queen's Jubilee and everything like that, where there can be robbings happening, because it's going to be big parties and grounds, so do you think it'd be right now for police to, because they've got an excuse, because they've heard rumours, to, like, stop and search people? Because, like you said, obviously, it's better to be cautious and not question. It's better to not question a police officer and just go with the caution.
I think they've always got an excuse to stop and search people, especially when there's events and stuff like that going on. The same way you go to any event, you're going to get stopped and searched at the door by the bouncer, innit? It's just not a police officer, but, you know, like, depending on the size of the event, there's going to be times where they are going to be having police right there with them, innit? Like when you go to them big festivals,
I'm not talking
things.
that. I'm not talking about at being at the event. I'm talking about you could just be on the tube, on the street, and because of this time, what's happening, you know, there's a lot of paranoia. There's a lot of pickpocketing, jacking, all this type of stuff could be going on. So do you think because this news has come on, do you reckon this is a good excuse here to say, well, yeah, you know, this is why we need to be extra vigilant and step up searches?
Well, before I answer that, I just want to say big up Jen Wallace. We're talking about a load of kids were supposed to be going to an event that was being held in a park, and they started advertising online that they're going to go down there and rob each other, and, you know, everyone who's not robbing is going to get robbed and all sorts of nonsense. So the event got shut down. So we're discussing, you know, control mechanisms for those type of situations rather than events getting shut down, X, Y, Z. And in reference to your question, Natty, I think that the police are going to do that regardless. Because so even though, like, for instance, they're saying this event's been shut down in Burgess Park here, if the event does take place, or what if it's not going to take place, regardless, like, the police are going to be alert. You know, so they know people might even still go down there, so they might even still see police just hanging around the park. Like, any kind of event like that nowadays is going to be, especially in London, that's going to be policed, bro. You're going to have a big presence.
So let's say you've got an event. Let's say you've got your first event,
yeah.
And let's say, you know, they post on it, oh yeah, we're coming down to Shiffa's event to stab people and do all this. Now, obviously, this is why we've got law, security, and everything like that. Unless it's like a well-known international threat that's known by the police, you know, like you know, someone like the IRA or ISIS, or
you know,
people like that, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say to you. Then, you know, obviously they'd be shutting down a lot of things.
Obviously, because there's only so much budget in it.
And as we've heard by a lot of artists, gigs, and certain people, that police have come there and said, "Oh yeah, because of this, look what happened to So Solid. Oh yeah, because we've heard rumors and everything like that. Yeah,
but that's gonna happen though, because remember the police is on a budget, in it. So because they've got a set budget, they can only afford to deal with so much. And if they see that, you know, it's turning into too much, then they got to do something. They got to shut that down.
Okay, so you know, you got loads of kids that obviously in America want to have guns. And they're allowed to have guns. So it's all right for them to go shoot at people, but then we shouldn't do nothing about it because it is what it is. And like we said earlier on, you shouldn't really question why we should not ban guns. You just allow it to happen.
It's not really about allowing it to happen. It's about the people. At the end of the day, the people make an agreement with the government about what they want in it. So a percentage of those people, they want the guns in it. Like, and obviously we could say to them, well, you just can't have the guns, but that don't mean they're going to give them all up. So it is what it is, isn't it? The government's made a decision based on the predicament that they're in and said, okay, do you know what? We're going to have to allow the guns to some extent. So we're going to have laws pertaining to them. And we're going to say, you're not allowed to have a gun if you've done X, Y, Z, or if you're in a certain state or situation, you're not allowed one, but you are allowed in this situation. You know, like things like you're not allowed to conceal your weapon in certain places. You are allowed to conceal your weapon if you've got a license for it, X, Y. Do you understand? So there's a lot of technicalities involved. It's not just as simple as you can just have a gun and any idiot can just walk down the street, just pick up a gun legally and start doing their thing. But any idiot probably could pick up a gun down the street in America, to be fair.
So what you're basically saying is that the institution and the police is choosy to what they allow and who they allow.
Not exactly. I'd just say that the institution is not bigger than the people, if that makes sense, to some extent. And there's people who aren't seen as maybe part of the institution, like they're not government people, they don't work in the government, but they got a lot of power because they got a lot of money. So, you know, that's how the laws are going to be influenced. Does that make sense?
No, the question was in what you said in relation to in what I was saying in the comparison to allowing something to happen when there's a blatant evidence of it happening, and then not allowing something when something's not happened.
I'm a bit confused. Say that. You're gonna have to write that by me again.
That thing at the park has not happened. So they cancelled it. Yeah. So they took that decision to cancel it due to violence that may occur. Yeah. And then
that's been said. Well, that's been what's the word? It's been proposed, or it's been flipping someone's made the implication.
Yeah, sorry. Explain to us what's happened with the Burgers Park, because I'm getting confused. What's happened? Is the event still happening?
As far as I know, it's not still happening, is what I've been told. I don't know for sure because I'm not in the inner circle of Burgess Park, but I can say to you first-hand experience that there has been violence at Burgess Park before on many occasions. Not one, you know, people have been robbed or, you know, maimed, injured, whatever. So, you know, to an extent, you know, these kids saying that they're going to do something, you know, some people might believe them for that reason because things have happened there before. It's not
right. No, that's what I'm trying to get to at. That's what I'm trying to get to at. So, like at this like event that might happen, there's been violence there before then, obviously.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's what issue. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, if there's not been like, you know, some kind of sort of violence, then obviously that's what I was getting to. It's a bit fishy how, you know, these few bits of Twitter or few bits of Facebook accounts have popped up, mainly mums saying, "Oh, avoid your kids going down there," and then, you know, a handful of kids or teenage youth that are saying, "Yeah, get rolled or get this, blah blah blah." So, you know what I'm saying? I was just thinking, like, sometimes, man, they can use this as a way to shut something down just through the advertising and then give an excuse to shut other things down.
Yeah, that makes sense though. I'm not gonna even argue with that one, because at the end of the day, like, when the event was being set up, for this year, they already knew that, you know, previous years or last year, whenever they've had issues there's been issues in it. So regardless, they should have had precautions and things put in place in it. Regardless, it shouldn't matter what the youth say. Shouldn't matter if anyone says they're gonna do anything, but they should be prepared for it by now, innit? It's not like Burgess Park started going a year ago or 2 years ago. Like, Burgess Park has been going for at least maybe 20 years, cause more than that, probably longer, probably about 30.
Right. And if all these kids that are being allowed to get these guns in America and get easy access, and it's been going on, and they don't get no warning, then you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, well, look, you can do something about it. Then you can ban the guns, and I can agree with this. All right, look at the venues, you can ban this, or on these certain days, everyone has to get searched.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It doesn't matter who you are, everybody's getting searched. You know what I mean, and that's the cost, and that's the price for it. So, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure how that would go down, but I see your point that obviously if you don't try something, then you're doing nothing.
You're doing nothing, yeah, man. Yeah, man. Because I remember even I think the last carnival that I went to, we were like, listen, it's different this year, because we were seeing people getting tugged, like at West Hampstead, do you know what I mean? Or like King Cross, or like before they've even reached actually into carnival, do you know what I mean? People getting tugged. Yeah. So we were like, you know what? They obviously, these lot are praying in it, these lot are para, because there's bare people there. And obviously, you know, when you're around strangers, man, you got to behave yourself, innit? Some people aren't willing to behave, so we just had to like do the like twos, you know what I mean? Like, go out in twos. As soon as you get off the train, don't be in no group thing, because you're just seeing people getting lined up.
So what about your debate from the other day? I'm sure you still had things or questions. Yo, Video Tracks Fanatic,
I'm back.
What's happening, bro? Talk to us, man.
Just nothing. We're gonna go to my magical screen for my secret Becky trick.
Okay, what is this you're trying to show to us, bro?
What I'm showing you is the Becky trick on my sleeve on my screen.
What does that mean?
Oh, it's a trick. Secret trick.
A secret trick?
Yes.
Okay, why is it a secret?
Yeah, the secret is, is the virtual audience is Becky shaking. You will see that through my magical screen.
Okay, I'm a little confused. Why are we? What is it you're trying to show us with this, Becky? What are we learning from it?
My screen. My screen.
All right, say no more. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this guy was talking about. He's acting a bit weird. Like I said, I feel like that's just a bomb bomber. So I'm just like gonna just let him do his thing.
That, bro.
But yeah, we're too smart for that over here now, man. We've seen the likes before. We've seen their likes. Yeah, so this whole thing of religion, like, because I know that's the main debate that you like to get into. What is it that what is the main thing that detracts you away from it, that makes it a point of contention for you, or whatever it is that it does?
I'll tell you what I've realized about religion. Yeah, it's inside of you or it's not inside of you.
All right, pause. What's inside of you or not inside? What do you mean? Talk to me.
So I don't live day to day thinking about God and thinking about this religiously. I don't do things religiously. I do things naturally.
Okay. When you say you don't do things religiously, what exactly do you mean when you say that? What does religiously mean?
I don't worship God. I don't think about God. I don't think about any of that stuff. I just live my normal day-to-day life.
Yeah, in reference to the Most High, I kind of get your point, but I mean in the sense of, you said you don't do anything religiously, and that's when you say you don't do anything religiously. Like, I would personally slightly disagree. I'd say everyone does something religiously. Does that make sense?
Depends. Well, it depends how you see it. Yeah, it depends how you see it. Yeah,
it depends on how I'm using the word to some extent as well. Yeah, so when I use the word religiously, I mean pertaining to like doing things in a routine fashion that doesn't change.
So do you believe in the dictionary then? Do you go by words and believe in what the dictionary meanings of words are?
To some extent, yeah, but to another extent, I'd say that can be what's the word? That can become controversial because, you know, depending on the time period we're speaking about, certain words may not have existed or may have meant something slightly different and may have evolved over time. So I
in
think
this day and age, what dictionary do you use to communicate with people?
Whatever dictionary that person's language is in.
So, for instance, English dictionary, yeah, Oxford dictionary, yeah. So, religious, relating to or believing in a religion.
Yeah. Okay. I don't understand the point.
What would you say? What would you say to that? Would that make sense or would that not make sense?
Yeah, it would make sense.
Cool. So that is me. That's why I'm not religious.
I get you, but then, like, when you use the word religiously, yeah, if you type religious and then put ly at the end of it, see what you come up with. Yeah, but what I've come up with is in a way that relates to or conforms with a religion. Yeah, the religiously based schools is the example given. Then it says underneath that, it says with consistent and conscientious regularity. Yeah, he practices religiously 4 hours every day. So somebody who practices, like for instance, football every day, yeah, for a certain amount of hours, they're doing that religiously. Because do you feel where I'm coming from? Now, that's why. Yeah, that's why I tried to get the context of the word from the way you was using it. And obviously you saying you never do anything religiously. Like I said, I disagree with that because I believe there's things that you probably practice, or, you know, you got a hobby or something that you do religiously. That makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, like brushing your teeth every day is religiously, having a wash every day is religiously.
All right. Religiously, you understand? You wash your armpit every day, innit? And your private parts.
Are we getting confused? Hello, gentlemen. Are we getting confused with habits and what's religion?
It would have an effect.
No. Would it? Do you know what it is? Use that Laughing Tom. Big up Laughing Tom. How you doing, sis? So long story short, yeah, we were just having a discussion, and you know, we're talking about religion, and you know, Natty said that his specific words was this. He said, I don't deal with religion, and I never do anything religiously. Now, my only contention was the way that he used the word religiously, because if I go into a dictionary, it's quite it's quite descriptive in its description. It says, with consistent and conscientious regularity. That's what doing something religiously means. So to me, don't get me wrong, I get where he's coming from, that it can relate to a religion, but it doesn't only, is all that was my only point.
But isn't religion more linked to faith?
Yeah, 100%. When you say religion,
and I think that sometimes it's just the way we use words. I can say I religiously use deodorant, but I'm not practicing a faith. It's a good thing to use deodorant,
Yeah.
But I'm not practicing a faith. And I think
but when you say you're not practicing a faith, I can agree with you to the extent that not everyone doing a particular thing, like for instance, we do a 7-day week and we take the weekends off, or we got a 5-day week and 2 days where we take off. Now we all do that religiously, and I'd imagine to some extent that would have a connection to the actual religion in the place that you're residing in, but you might not be part of the religion, but you're still taking part.
I disagree with practices. I think this all comes down to the root word and how we use words and how modern day words are used, because religion is man-made.
Okay.
Faith is spiritual. That's my distinction. Okay, because this is what I always say to people: if I need to speak to God, I don't need to go to a third party, i.e. church, to do it.
That's true.
And yet the church tries to make me believe that when I go to church, I'm speaking to God. Well, if God is everywhere, then he's in my bathroom, my kitchen, my bedroom. He's everywhere. Why do I need a third person to access God for me? I don't. So I strongly believe, a lot of people do, that religion is man created, it's man based. It's to give a certain group of people some level of superior insight, knowledge, access over other people that aren't as good as they are.
So then if I take what you're saying for granted and we go outside of the church then and just say we've got spiritual people,
Yes.
Do those spiritual people not still need some commonality to be able to come together and together, but to conform with each other, to understand each other?
No.
I'll let you explain why they don't need a commonality then. Maybe I can explain why I believe otherwise.
Faith and spirituality is a personal, individual relationship with whomever you are connecting with.
Mm-hmm.
If I believe in white witchcraft, then I will practice rituals for myself. I don't need to go to a coven to practice those rituals. I don't need to go to a coven to pray. I don't need to, if I believe in Mother Earth, for example, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but prehistoric man looked to the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth. And they thought if they did certain things would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Those are individual relationships. I just think that when you die and they say you meet your maker, he's not going to ask the church, the priest at the church, to come by for that meeting. He's going to have a one-on-one conversation with me saying, these are the good things that you did, these are the bad things. And in the book of judgment, so to speak, this will determine, whether you go up or down. So I think my relationship with whatever spiritual force, energy I'm connected with is personal. And that is something, I think that's something that the church tries to discourage. All churches, all religions, be it Islam, be it Christianity, be it Catholicism, be it Judaism, they all try to discourage the personal relationship. They say you must come to this location at this time and do these things to be connected to your God. And I disagree.
And I definitely hear your point, and I'm not going to dispute that because I'm not part of the church. I'm not here to make their argument for them. But the one that I will make is this. I would say ultimately certain things, certain aspects of society, like we have like courtesy, yeah, we do certain things religiously because of, you know, our cultural practices or XYZ. Now, I believe that we wouldn't have those cultural practices or have those particular courtesies and ways of dealing with each other without having a backbone, a structure. And that's where I believe the religion comes in to some extent. But when you say the church XYZ, I'm going to say I believe what you said is true. I don't believe you have to be part of a church to have faith and to be connected to your maker. I just believe that to have some kind of structure, you know, we all have to follow it.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
but what are the benefits? What are the benefits to being part of a religion and to go to a place of worship? Let's just call it a generic term, place of worship. Isn't it for other people like us to judge us on our behaviour and to make us feel guilty that we're not as good as that person?
No, I wouldn't say that's the purpose. I'd say the purpose of going to church
For humans, I'm not talking about the religious level. I'm talking about as individuals. We all know those. We all know the Sunday crew, don't we? Monday to Saturday, they're up to all kinds of shadiness. They go to church on Sunday. They go to church on Sunday. Put on the wig, put on the hat, put on the shoes, put on the dress, hold the Bible, and they're there quivering to the Lord's name. Yeah, and then they go home and they're on their knees doing all sorts of madness, but they've been to church and cleansed their soul.
All right, I'm gonna take that one for granted. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say, do you know what? I can't. That everyone's gonna be judged on their own merits, in it.
Exactly.
They're gonna have their own judgment in it. Like it's that's an individual thing.
Yes.
But as far as like certain things, like without religion, yeah, I believe things like murder wouldn't that wouldn't be a law. There wouldn't be no law, because how could you have that law without having some kind of structure to base it on to start
Do you
with?
want me to tell you how?
Rape,
do you want me to tell you how?
that women's rights, all of these things, like people, just human rights in general. I don't think you can have a lot of human rights in this world today without having those core beliefs. And
hold on. When did it become necessary to put basic human rights in writing and in legislation? When did we make that is sacrosanct? Shouldn't it's like when people say, oh, respect is earned, it's not given. No, hold on, respect is given, and then you realise that you're not worthy of respect and you take it away.
I hear where you're coming from, yeah, but I just think in a sense of, where would we learn something from without learning it?
All right, let me tell you, the Industrial Revolution, okay, this is the biggest shift for mankind was the way that mankind was starting to be controlled by people with money and power. And that time was...
And when we all started coming together
Hold on. That time was the shift from time-based work to task-based work. And that means farmers used to be in the fields from when it got light to when it got dark. However, whatever time of year it was, when it got light, they was out there. When it got dark, they went home. That's how it worked. But then when they moved from task-based work, when factories started to be created, and, you know, we then used the mechanical clock as our god, that's when 24-hour working factory systems started to come into being. And that's when people started to work all hours of the day and night. And that manifestly changed the family dynamic.
All right, cool.
Yeah, 100%.
So do you not think we don't learn from our mistakes? So for instance, like, do you not think the first man that ever probably burnt himself taught other people or showed somebody about burning themselves? Do you not think that collectively we all learn and collectively?
No, I don't think that. I don't think that. And do you know me to tell you why?
1 second.
When you're finished.
1 second. Yeah. Like, let's say for instance, if I know, like, a punch hurts me, yeah, then I know I could punch you, and then we could just keep punching each other, but eventually, like, as human beings have grown up now, yeah, we've started to learn reasons as to why we do these things, yeah. So I think as human beings started to coming more together, it was vital for us to learn how the Arabs were doing things, how the English were doing things, because they all still were doing their different things. Some were wearing clothes, some weren't wearing clothes. So we would probably ask ourselves, why aren't these people got clothes on, but yet we do? Why are these
Well,
people
hold
got horns?
on.
But
We've got great tribes in Africa. The Maasai, their women don't wear clothes. They dress from the waist down, and it's 2022. They
yeah,
have not been affected by modern
rape.
culture.
Yeah, not being affected by rape. They don't see rape. They don't see nakedness. They don't. It's natural.
That is how we were living. It was the only reason why being half naked is seen as unclean is because of Christianity and the Bible bashers that were going from continent to continent to try to change the natives and their culture and their beliefs. It's a form of domination.
But what if you lived in a climate that was always cold, and somebody's breasts and everything was always covered up? Do you think that would?
But that was appropriate behaviour for that culture, for that climate.
Right. But then if they saw somebody that was naked, would they necessarily think it's like a sexual thing, or it's a disgusting thing to be like?
Let's just be really honest. Let's just stop faffing about. The people that put across that nakedness is sick and it's evil and it's nasty were white missionaries. Yeah, let's just cut to the chase. That was a white European issue. Right? Aboriginals went around naked. Native Americans went around naked. They wore clothes as and when required. Right? Africans went around naked. The Europeans had to put on clothes because they live in a clothed climate. But even the Vikings were semi-naked. Right? So it's the white missionaries that went around with their Bibles saying, believe in God. If you don't believe in God, you're a sinner, you're going to go to hell. They were the one that perpetrated this fear of nature and nakedness. They wanted organized religion so they could control the people. That's my personal belief. And I don't need any form of organized religion in my life. End of.
Well, it's funny you say that, sister, because
I want to answer your question, what you said before. I kind of was kind of letting you lot run with it for a sec. But you see what you said? You said if you had the first person, and they made a particular mistake. Let's say the first thing they did was to murder someone, Let's say that the first person who murdered someone, how would they know what they did was wrong? How would you know? Because, like, if you look at, for instance, if we're going to go from my standpoint then, because as atheist or as scientists, they don't have that information in it. They can only go by the information we got, which would be,
dead bones with sawn marks in them. I get it.
All right, so we can go by that, but we don't know if that's necessarily the first one when we find a set of bones. But the Bible's going to say to you, Cain and Abel, bam, Cain killed his brother. But what was his first reaction? His first reaction was to try and hide it, not to say that it was wrong. He didn't identify it as wrong straight away. So because of that, I would say that my knowledge of these things is limited, isn't it?
Yeah, same as mine. Mine is purely based on information I've picked up and so on.
Yeah, I'm just going to go by what they said in that regard and say that the first person tried to cover it up. Same way, like the first person.
Well, that's what the book says. That's not what society did.
No, but
that's not what society. Because in society they had collectives, they had communities, and every community. Even now, and I'm talking third world communities because I believe that's the most natural hierarchy of community. I'm not talking about advanced industrial societies where it's different. I'm talking about if you go into the third world or the developing world, they have communities, and in those communities they will have a chief, they will have a leader, they will have a kind of wise man, they will have a woman that helps to give birth to, birthing other babies. They will have a structure. It may be simple, but there are rules that everyone follows.
All right.
And if somebody
their spiritual belief.
Yeah, exactly. And if somebody kills someone, it may be justified because within that community, they may kill someone who does something horrendous to who
Yeah, but
steals their goat.
who has the right to make the judgment and say
Well,
which
that's
one
because
is
they have a leader.
which
Yeah,
one
it's
is not?
collective.
And then in the same respect now, yeah, what if you didn't want to be part of the collective and now they're
then you
forcing
would be thrown out of the group.
And then all right, but then what if they don't throw you out of the group? What if they force you to stay in the group? And
But
then
they don't.
there's so many
That's the
what
thing.
ifs, there's so many variables in that situation, whereas we can just be like, all right, straight up, yeah.
But Shiffa, they do remove people.
I get you, but maybe they do, but in some cases we don't know. Maybe they don't. And I'm
Well,
just saying
if we
the
keep
one
on
for
doing
one second. Yeah. We're going too far outside the box dealing with what if this, what if that, when we can deal with the variables we actually have, which are, you know, a person who commits a crime, like for instance, a pedophile in modern day and times, when they commit that crime, do they come out and say to everyone, oh, what I did was wrong? No, because they hide it, because they don't want to go to jail. They don't want to face the consequences.
Yeah, but
so
what if they're
what makes you
straight up
think,
honest?
one second, this is my question to you. What makes you think people were any different when we go back in time? That's my question to you.
Okay.
Because
what if
of
people
choice.
weren't different? What if we
Because
came
of
down from a
choice.
spaceship?
Oh my
What
God.
No, but this is
You
what
haven't
I
been
didn't ask
smoking
what if.
anything,
I
have
said,
you?
no, I'm asking you for a descriptive answer as to what is it that is making you believe that the first people, the people who came historically from, like he meant thousands of years ago, the first person who committed a murder, then what makes you think they didn't try to hide it? What makes you think they were any different to people in this day and age?
Within those societies, those collectives, they had something that we don't have, which is equality. Every single person in that collective, in that group, in that community was equal to everyone else. Even the chief or the leader of the group, he had nothing more than everyone else.
And normally the leader was always the eldest because they believe that the
Yes.
eldest.
I'm confused. How does everyone having the same amount stop people from hiding things? Please explain.
Because you stop
look
greed. You don't have greed. You don't have
if it's just me
envy.
and you, if it's just me and you, Shifa, and I kill you, I don't need to hide anything because it doesn't matter to anybody. That is a fact. Who am I going to hide it from? Who? Myself? Okay. Two.
But it's not just me and you though. We're talking about a society of people.
Right.
We're
So
talking
we're living
about
in
within
a
that
society.
society.
Okay, so
how did those people come to the state of having rules, regulations? And I would say that religion is the key in that situation. You're saying it's not. So I'm asking you to then explain how they would find rules without it. How would they have these regulations without it?
Okay, so during time when you live in a community, let's say there's been no death, right, other than someone dying of old age, right, it's going to affect people. So then you're going to be like, you know, are you telling me that you see somebody pass away and you're not going to be feeling like, you know, walking past the body every day going, oh, they don't get up. I think everyone's going to look and think, what the fuck? That's what happens to you. So I think it will have a big effect on the community.
Is that what animals do?
Yeah, animals mourn. Some animals mourn their death. Elephants do.
Mourn.
Yeah.
No, but I mean in a sense of no.
Elephants
I don't mean like that. I don't mean like that. I mean in the sense of when one you know, walk past it and mourn it, and no, it's eating that thing, bro.
But Shifa, the difference between now and then is people's values.
But they would say that people were more primitive. Like if we're gonna get scientific,
well, using the word primitive is quite insulting.
Why do you say that?
Even if we were primitive, we still had to learn things.
Yeah, we did, but we haven't really evolved that much, have we? We've evolved within technology, but we don't have heightened knowledge. We don't use telekinesis. We can't move objects with our mind. We don't use telepathy. We haven't actually evolved that much.
So would you agree with me then?
Technology.
So would you agree with me in saying then that we are still the same people, regardless of whether we've got more advanced technology now? When we were people back then, our ancestors were still people just like us. They had similar emotions, feelings, states of mind, X, Y, Z. So to that aspect, then I would suggest that you're now agreeing with me then, because those people would have still hid things. People want to learn. Listen, not 1 second. People want to learn things that benefit them. They don't want to learn things that don't benefit them. And especially if, you know, a person's made a mistake. And a lot of times in my experience of life, when people make a big mistake, especially, a lot of them try to hide it. So
Oh,
I just want to
hold on a minute.
understand. Go on.
Schiffer, people do in those, well, first of all, there is a natural amount of people, a natural number, I don't know what the number is, where humans feel comfortable in, whether it's we feel comfortable in a group of 50 or 100 or whatever the number is. Anything past that number, we start to feel stressed. It's a natural reaction, right? When you live in a collective, a small community, often like these original communities, it's just as powerful to know what is the right food to eat as it's powerful to know what is the wrong food to eat. And when they know what the wrong food is to eat, they will share that information with the community so no one else uses it.
Just like the Bible does.
Today, only the select people will know, oh, don't eat that food.
But
And
that's not the Bible
they'll let everyone else eat it.
No, but you're 100% right, because that's what the Bible does. It tells you about botanical
only
stuff.
for those
It tells
people.
you
I wasn't
about the
talking
types
about
of
the
meat
Bible.
you can
but
eat.
only for
No,
those people.
I know, and I
in
get
South
you, but I'm just saying
America,
the Bible
in
does
South
that.
America,
It
written
does that.
all over the walls, there is not one mention of Jesus. So
I get
therefore,
you.
God's word and Moses and all that, it's not in South America, mate.
I get
And
you.
it's not
You see
it's
that
not in
argument?
Australia.
You see
And
that
it's not in
argument though,
Australia,
yeah?
Shifa.
I tell you where that argument's gonna fall apart, yeah? Now,
Oh,
if we can say, you can say in America we don't have any evidence of any
Well,
Bible
America
type
is not a good
activity.
example, really, Schiffer,
But
because
what?
America was Native American owned. So you need
All
to
right,
use another continent. You need to
all
use
right.
Africa or Australia. You can't
All
use
right, so
America.
that's what I was about to do. I was going to go Africa, because most
Okay,
people
yeah.
are going to say that the first civilizations on the planet come out of Africa and Mesopotamia. Now, going by what you said, sis, if those people back then would have had a better mentality, because they would have had more of a sense of community, then there would have been less reason for them to lie to each other. Yeah. Now, if that be the case, then when we look at these ancient people, these are the ones who gave us these books. They're the ones who gave us religion, gave us all of these things. Religion ain't something that came around in the last 200 years, in the last 4, 5, 6, not even the last 1,000 years. This is
Hold
something that's
on.
going back thousands of years.
No, I disagree. Because when the Africans were imported to America for the slave trade, their religion, their faith was not written down. It was passed from mouth to mouth. And when they mixed up all the tribes, that's when their religion started to die down, because the different tribe, they had tribal conflicts, like people from different postcodes have conflict for some reason. I don't understand why. But they had tribal conflicts, and each tribe had its own rules, its own faith, its own way of doing things. And when they mixed that together, they lost the root of their faith. They lost the root of who they were as peoples, because they were so nobody spoke the same language, nobody ate the same food. Now you're on this boat in this ocean, you can't see the land. You're contained in the bottoms of boats, living in your own filth, and you're going to a completely different culture, different food, just everything different.
I've heard your argument.
And then when you reach
sense,
there, you found out that you're different. You can't even speak the same language as the person, and you are captured like a dog, and you are given a new name and a new identity. So
all right, let me attack this argument. Let me attack this argument now. The point I'm going to make to you guys is this now, yeah? Now, you said if I'm wrong about anything,
they didn't know they were Christians. Is that what it was?
I don't want to misinterpret anyone in it. So if I misinterpret something you said, feel free to pull me up.
Well, this is a debate, this is a very nice debate. We're all being very civilized.
Yeah, come on, this is jokes and banter. We gotta be.
Yeah,
and we can bust 2 jokes as well.
And
Don't
I'm learning as well. I'm learning.
But, yeah, so what I was gonna say is this,
that's all it is right now, jokes and banter.
Yeah. It's not. Don't take it too serious for the viewers.
But it's also educational to hear other people's viewpoints. It's about opening your mind. It's about opening your mind to other possibilities.
Yeah,
that's how we grow as a people.
So I wanted to say to you, if we're saying that people who were us, like black people, then who were slaves in the Americas, we were brought to the Americas. First and foremost, we're gonna need to see more evidence that all of us were brought there, and we're gonna have to see proper evidence of the actual numbers. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Because there's so
Yes.
much controversy surrounding that subject. I don't want to talk about it too much.
But don't you think, so let me just interject, don't you think that that is in itself quite disgusting? Because the Holocaust is
yeah,
very specific on the amount
in
of
how much
people that
numbers?
died. But when
Yes,
it comes to
yes.
black people, suddenly it's all vague.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a travesty in itself. So then once we get into this idea of what you said about we was loads of different tribes with loads of different ideas, different adherences, X,
Mm-hmm.
Y, Z, I'd say to you, to some extent, if we look at the first we look at Christ then, yeah, we look at Jesus and we look at his disciples, we look at the first Christians then and those types of people, they didn't have the Bible we have today. The Bible is a compilation of books from different
Yes.
sets of or groups or families or however we're going to look at it. So to an extent, for years we've been told that this Bible is a European man's book. It's written from a European standpoint, X, Y, Z.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But when I picked up a Bible and I read the Bible, this Bible did not seem to me that it was coming from a European standpoint. It didn't even start in Europe. It wasn't even really acknowledging Europe in the way that Europeans in their modern day in terms would think it does.
Yeah,
Do
but
you feel what
that's
I'm coming
because,
from?
but that's because for the Bible to work as a tool, and I'm just being controversial now, for the Bible to work as a tool, it has to come from a global perspective.
That's right. A global. There we go. And now we've got there. So now we know this book is from a global perspective. I would say to you that to some extent, yes, the European has his what's the word? Translation. Just
Yes.
like the
And which version
A.
of the Bible, you know?
All right.
King
Just
James,
like that.
King this, King that,
All
you
right.
know, the Jews
You got the
don't.
Queen James now, sis. You got Queen James. You got
You
weird
sure we
ones.
haven't got trans James?
Me no know, but trans James soon come. So I'm saying that we have to be careful with the book, obviously. But I'm just gonna say, you know, they got their version, just like the Arabs, the Arab man,
Yeah.
and the Jewish
Yeah.
man, and
Yes.
everyone's got their version. But remember,
Yes.
all of these books are coming from the same information, the same set of information, and it's different interpretations.
Shall I tell you? I'm going to tell you this. This might sound a bit wacky. It will
Well,
sound wacky, right? I used to be. I didn't used to be a Rastafarian, but I used to have locks, and I used to be very sympathetic to the Rastafarian religion as I saw it when I was like in my early 20s, right? Because my
can I
son's
just say
father was.
Rasta is not
Yeah.
a religion from what
Well,
I've been told.
well,
But I'm gonna let you continue.
this is just my language, right? Might not be the right language, but one of the things that some very dedicated Rastafarians used to tell me about the 12 tribes. Yeah. And when I thought about the 12 tribes, I thought, do you know what? Those 12 tribes actually correlate with the 12 races of the world. When you think, you know, it's like, I can't even remember all of the 12 tribes now. I'm so old, I'm getting old woman brain. But I used to think to myself, they do correlate because you have the tribe of Judah, which is always believed to be black, Rastafarian hair. You had the other tribes that I thought correlated to Asians, other tribes correlated to Indians. And it was just the way that the tribes were described to me.
Yeah.
It made me think these were the 12 tribes of the world. It's really
so you're
what
gonna say something that I've said on another panel last year. I said this as well. I said that when we're dealing with the nation of Israel,
Yes.
Israel was made up by it's an amalgamated nation. Like if you look at, for instance, the man whose name was changed to Israel, you know, he had more than one wife. Just like his father before him had more than one wife. And some of these wives would have been from complete separate nations because for fear of things like like incest and X, Y, Z. So there was only a certain amount of women within our tribe and within our own borders that we could even get with like that because the rest of us are all related.
Exactly.
So,
you've said it perfectly. Yeah. That
I'd have to agree with you.
You've expressed it better, and I think that still remains today. But what happens is we as modern humans cannot put ourselves in the mind of primitive men and women. We can only imagine. But I mean, how could you take your mind and put your mind into a Maasai tribal man walking across the Serengeti with these goats, with these cows, free from council tax, fuel tax, gas, electric. Could you put you? I don't think we can.
Yeah.
I don't think we
And
can
obviously
relate.
he's got his own adversities to face as well. So
Exactly.
it is what it is.
So
Yeah.
I think in a way it's very hard for us to really understand the plights of other humans that have dealt at times before us. So we always put our spin on it, you know, because that's the only experience we have. If there was evidence that we'd lived other lives, then maybe we'd pull on that and say, well, you know, when I was living as a man in the 17th century, I did it, but we don't know that.
Well,
So
to some extent, I have to agree with what you said. You know, we don't live their experience, and the only thing, I'm not going to disagree with what you're saying. I'd say the only window we have into the world of those people is the artworks, the writings, the information, the pottery, the constructions, the things they left behind. And anytime we look at anything that was left behind by, for instance, like the Assyrians, who you know, they wrote about their conquests, and some of their conquests pertain to conquering Israel and Israelites, and they told us who these people were, what they were about. They even left illustrations and, you know, pictures and pottery and artworks with, you know, faces on there so we could see what they look like. And anytime we look at the actual artworks, the actual the primary sources, what we find is black faces.
So
this is why, you know, you're going to get a lot of people who's going to say, well, the original Israelites are black. You're going to have, you know, certain people who's going to say,
or to compromise, to say the original Israelites were people of color,
or people of color, but you're going to still have some people who's going to say, well, Israel's
black
is
but because black is a political statement.
All right,
I actively use the word I'm a black woman because I'm actively making a political statement.
But if you was to ask me in person, like as a personal thing, I don't adhere to black and white. I adhere to dark and light, because I think one can't exist without the other.
That makes sense.
And
But then that makes dark sound negative.
Well, not really, because the light came out of the darkness. When you say dark,
think about how it's applied. Think about it. Think about the negativity associated with dark and the purity associated with white.
That's not necessarily true, because think about it like this, darkness is what you can't see,
but Jesus isn't surrounded by a dark light, is he?
Technically, to some extent, because think about it like this: if darkness isn't what we see and we're dealing with our unseen God, then the unseen, the Most High, is within the darkness.
Okay, all right, I'm going to give you this then as a controversial point, because I do agree with your line of thought. What if God it never existed? What if God is just a big scam?
God can't be a scam. It can't be a scam. There's a reason why it can't be a scam.
Let's put it like this. On the American dollar bills, it says, "In God we trust."
Yes, right.
Bring God to court to prove he exists.
Yeah, but we know who God is. When we're dealing with God,
who is God? Who is God?
If we use the word God, we're dealing with men. Anytime we use the word God or gods, you know, we're dealing with men, or the ordinances of men, or the governments of men, or you know, something that is man-made or what's orientated. Now, when we get to the Most High, that's something else.
But
so
where did God come from?
In that context,
where did God come from?
If we're talking about the Most High, as in that, not just any God, we're talking about the Most High. We're talking about the master of all dimensions. So there's no telling where the Most High came from, because the Most High can be in all times, all places, everywhere, all at exactly the same time. Because the Most High is the master of time and space.
Men are not creators of life. Life comes from women.
Women don't create life. Women reproduce. And that's the issue that I have when women make that statement.
Interesting.
Because you don't create nothing. Everything is done by itself. Like I don't create my sperm.
Well,
my
we create eggs.
Generated, but I didn't create my body that creates the sperm. Do you understand? You don't create your body that creates the egg. Someone else or something else created that. And it was created perfect. and that's
is
where we
what
hit a
actually
brick wall. Go on.
the sperm
The
is what
sperm is what?
actually moves.
I
And
get you, but yeah, the egg is
the
what
egg,
needs fertilizing. The egg is
yeah.
the
Yeah.
incubator. Yeah,
And
but
we are born
ultimately,
with a certain amount of eggs, whereas men produce sperm all through their life. So
that's right. That's right. And obviously, we are
I've
to
just
that effect.
contradicted myself.
All right, but to some effect, no one is just creating babies out of thin air. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
It's correct.
We're using natural a natural essence that was placed in us by something else.
And that's
So we have
exactly the
to be
same
created.
essence that primitive man had.
That's why
So
we
we
have
go
to have
back,
been
we haven't
created.
evolved that much.
Like if you think about it, everything has to be created because it's created perfect. If there's one mistake in the creation of an organism
Well, there are
at the
mistakes in the
cellular level,
genetics. Yeah, there are.
all
There are.
right, we
There
get
are many, many,
mutations.
many mistakes. The
We
But
get
fact
hold
that
on,
we are,
mutations.
Shifa,
We do.
Shifa, those words that you just used, they're not in the Bible.
What's that?
Organisms
genetic.
and all that scientific stuff
Oh
you're
no,
talking about.
they didn't. These
Yeah,
are
but
relatively new words. Then this is what I said to you when you said to me
yeah.
about language, Natty. I made it very clear. If we're
Yeah, but
talking about old school
science is
language, remember, old language
is
didn't have certain words never existed for one. Yeah, and there probably
Mm-hmm.
was a
right.
word for it, but the word that was used for a particular thing back in the day is used for something different in modern times. Because what
So
they've
where
done
in
is
the
they've
Bible
changed the
where in the
meaning of
Bible
certain
can I
words.
find
Well,
where in the
hold on,
Bible can I
gentlemen.
hold on,
We've skipped a
where in
we've
the
skipped a
Bible
whole
can I
we've
find that
skipped a
word
whole
that I
step.
should use for this daytime
Remember the
that you've been using
heliocentric
that
model
time?
of the universe versus the geocentric? In the period
Mm-hmm.
of before the period of enlightenment, the geocentric, the geocentric model of the universe was the one that everyone believed. The Earth
Yeah.
was the center of the universe, and then it moved to
Yeah.
the heliocentric, with the sun being the
Yep.
center of the universe.
Yep.
I mean, that
So
was a
who
major.
got that wrong?
That's a
Did we
major
get that
step.
wrong or did God get that wrong?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is what man
What does the
believed,
Bible
because
say? What
Yeah,
does the
what does the
Bible
I
Bible
don't
say?
know
say?
what the Bible says on that.
What does the
Exactly.
I'm
But
Bible
just
say about
I'm just
that's what I
saying
neurons
said to
then?
Natty.
Copernicus.
What
Copernicus,
does the
he was the
Bible say about
scientist
neurons?
that discovered that
What
model.
is the Bible word for
When
neurons?
you
As
say
you're
he
saying
discovered
about
that model, yeah. When you say he discovered that model, most of these discoveries are exactly what they say on the tin. Discoveries. They're not like, because when people say
They're not
discovery,
inventions, they're discoveries.
it
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
it would come with the impression that someone just came up with this idea and they've tried and tested it. 9 times out of 10 they ain't tried and tested nothing. They went to Africa, they saw something, they said, okay, this is how it goes, and then they changed their thing. That's what happened. I'm telling you, like when you look at, for instance, like the way the universe and everything is mapped out, all of these things are coming from star maps that are in Africa. Yeah, they're in the Middle East. The star map is there to this day. It hasn't gone nowhere. Do you feel where I'm coming from?
fair enough.
The
Fair enough.
Egyptians had it all
I
mapped
mean,
out.
but doesn't that make
So
sense though?
what is the African term
Mm-hmm.
of using? What is the African language for using it then? Where is the African language for
Well,
this?
they're not the only ones who had it mapped out. The Americans had it mapped out too. Yeah, the Chinese weren't far off neither. So the world has been connected for the
Why do we
longest
not
time.
talk
But
about the Indians?
Hi
the
guys.
Indians also. The
Hello.
Indians also. They had it.
Not the Native Americans. I'm talking about
Yeah, the actual Indians. Yeah, Indians. When I say, all right, so when we say Middle East, the Middle East and India are kind of connected anyway.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
when you go into the India now, you start dealing with the Hindus, and they've got their own
Yes.
version of events,
Yes.
and they got their own star map. They got their own thing going on, but it still resembles the other ones to some extent. They're all they're closer than what we was getting from Europe. They're all closer together. Like, even if you think about it, like the Aztecs, they got their own time, their own calendar, their own thing going on, which would have been
Their own
closer to
gods.
what was going on in Egypt to what was going on in Europe.
They had their own gods,
and there's a reason for that. But when you say they had their own gods, that's because, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. If you send a bunch of people from Africa into Viking country, and they see all these people doing all this Viking stuff, they're gonna think, oh, this is weird. They got their own gods, they got this, they got that. Okay, cool. But they might not see it that way. They might see it in their way. They might see it as, these men think they're gods. Because in Africa, remember, you got certain traditions where the men are the gods. They don't believe in gods like in the sky, like the god's right here, Shango's right here. You could be inside. He's you now. You are. He's a man. He lives.
No,
Do you understand?
God is energy. That's what it is.
I get you, and I'd agree with you on that. But at the same time, you know, you got different concepts from different tribes, different people. Now, once we understand that, you know, that's them coming in with their mentality, innit? That's when the pagans or the white people was going into Africa and they're seeing certain things. They go into America, they see certain things. That must be their God, but it might not be a God. That's just their interpretation. I remember the word God was never used in Africa. There weren't no African tribe that used the word God. Do you understand? They've taken whatever word they did use and translated it into the word God. There ain't no one in the world other than English people that use that word like that, God, and Europeans. That's a European term. So once we understand that, we know a lot of these things are confused and conflicting. Do you feel where I'm coming from? Like when you see things like Anunnaki, they say Anunnaki and they say that Anunnaki are gods. But when I looked at this Anunnaki, just like when I looked at the so-called gods of Egypt, to me, they look like people, guys. So, you know, I've got two concepts I can deal with here. I can deal with them as people, as
Yeah, they
actual
are
beings.
people that, but they were people that had a connection with the spiritual energy that creates, isn't it? Just like you believe in the Bible that Jesus is, you know what I'm saying, and all of that.
Well, we all do. If you think about it, yeah, Jesus in the Bible says that he is a son of the Most High, yeah? And then they question him and he says, well, does it not say in your Bible, we're all sons of the Most High? So if we're all sons, then we're all connected. Do you know what I'm trying to say? We all got that connection. And those people, you know,
we all
just
be
like
Jesus
in,
like them?
now, but remember, in modern day in terms, yeah, those people who are seen as being a closer connection are kings, queens, bishops, popes, X, Y, Z. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So how do we know that those things are not just representations of that exact structure? When we go and we look at the you know, the Pope and these men standing on this chessboard thing, and then we find the same thing in Egypt. He's got the same ankh, he's got the same flipping scepter. All of that, it's
Yeah, because
to me,
they're trying to do rituals, because we've
all
always
right,
done
but to
rituals.
me,
It's not a bad thing.
to me, that
And
says to me
they're
that
trying
what
to
they've
use it in
done
a
is,
negative way.
but to me, what that says is, you know, he is that the same as one of those deities, you know, them big giant things, them things that you see, and they say this one's Thoth, this one's that. That's like the priest of the time. Thoth was known as the priest king. Yeah, he was known as the Atlantean priest, and all of these things according to their version of events, isn't it? Now, what we're dealing with is priests today, yeah, who are revered. They make statues of them today, who are revered. Am I lying? Talk to me.
What about the statues in Egypt?
That's what I'm trying to say, bro. The statues of Egypt, to me, I don't see that as any different to them putting up a statue of Winston Churchill or putting up a statue of a pope or putting up a statue. Do you understand?
Okay, what
Because
about a statue of Mary or Jesus or
now
when
someone from the Bible?
When you say a statue of Mary or Jesus, remember Mary was a person. So yeah, same thing. Jesus was a person. Same thing.
So you don't
Do you
like seeing that.
understand?
So if you went to church, you
See
don't
that?
like seeing Mary there.
Well, the thing is now, yeah, we're not supposed to deal with idol worship if we're going to church, innit? You're not supposed to deal with idol worship. So for anyone who's getting down on their knees and praying in front of Mary, you know, you're idol worshiping to some extent. And
That's
my
correct.
belief is
That's
that,
what your boy
my
King
belief is
James
that,
was doing, though, isn't it?
hold up. Nope. And my belief is that what's happened is the church itself was usurped right at its inception. Because remember, the church is coming out of a pagan place. Yeah, the church is coming out of a place that was, even to this day, is still under pagan laws. The law has never been run
So
by the
why
church.
are you
Like,
following the pagan book written by pagan?
bro, it's not a pagan book. The pagan book is the flipping, what is it? The Thor and the Asgard and Rare Tear and
Me nah
you
know
know,
about that.
you've got
Those are
the
Norwegian gods. Those are Scandinavian gods.
Scandinavian. All right, you've got these
Scandinavian, yeah, because
Germanic.
I know that because my daughter's half Norwegian.
All right. So once we get
But
into
so
it like
Shifa,
that,
so if
and
you
we
have a picture,
understand,
like say your parent passed away and you have a picture of your parent and you pray to them every day, yeah, does that mean you're idolizing your parent now? That's your God.
100%.
Really? But that means then, as a child, you're idolizing your parents.
As a child, you're not idolizing your parent, but you have to understand something. When we get into that, yeah, there's a point where I can say to you, your father is supposed to be the head of your household. If we're going by Bible, this is not in everyone's life, because some people don't go by the Bible. So if you don't, this isn't for you. But for the ones who go by the Bible, the father is not only the head of your household, he is like God within the household. His word is as
Yes.
good as the word as the of the Most High. So you have to give him the same reverence while he's alive and around in the household. Once you become an adult and you're out doing your own thing, even, yeah, you still have to give that reverence to your parents, yeah. But you see, once that person's passed on, all praise goes to the Most High because he is the true father.
But hold on. If you backtrack a little bit, you're forgetting that women were seen to be the property of men. So when a woman married a man,
Yeah,
he then
exactly.
became, she then had to obey him. She had no rights.
yeah,
Yeah, and
but
you're
she didn't have
forgetting
to
that.
pray to him. She didn't have to pray to him or praise to him. She had to obey, and that's the word. The key word in this scenario, because when we
Okay,
talk
what
about
about
the Most
what
High,
about
that's where
the
your prayers go.
what about the Most High giving you instructions how to beat your slave?
When you
Yeah,
say the
but
Most
that
High
has
giving
to
you
be,
instructions
that we know
how to
that is
beat your
written by
slave,
man. Come on, we know.
now, no, it is, but it's inspired by God. Anything the
Yes.
Bible says, yeah, anything the real Bible says, the real Bible, because remember, you've got Bibles like the one you brought out yesterday, Natty, which was the English something, which is 20 years old, talking about demons and stuff. But if we're going to go into the real Bible, you have to understand
Well,
that
what is the real Bible? Can you just
the
clarify
real, the
that for
real,
me?
the real Bible to me, yeah, is going to be, it's going to be somewhere between the Septuagint and the King James. But you see, the problem with the Bible is this, that they took parts out. Yeah. So because they've took
Oh,
these passages out, what happens is
oh,
it allows people to make like massive errors in their use of the actual Bible, in my personal opinion. But I would say this, I'd say if something's in the Bible, it's there for a reason, because although the Most High may not be living on earth with us, having a day-to-day like walking around
inspired, yeah,
talking and running government
inspired to bust
XYZ.
a man
But what
car.
the Most High never did was he never disappeared. So all of these things that's been going on in the world, everything that's transpired, all of the new things that have come around, new laws, new rules had to be put in place. That's why we had a
What you
new
saying?
covenant.
What you
I
saying?
That's
Did
the
struggle.
whole
God
I
um,
point.
did
struggle.
God
I
So
inspire
struggle
the
with
Romans
something
to beat
if
written
you
up
by
go
man.
Jesus? Yeah,
I struggle.
if
God
we go back in
inspired them to
time, I
hang up
said this
Jesus on the
yesterday.
cross. Yeah.
If we just hold that thought for a second, because we'll get to that. But I'm saying if we go back in time, we had an Old Testament. That's the Old Covenant, because those were the talks of the time. These were the things, the issues people were dealing with at the time. So there was people who were inspired by the Most High at the time to bring these revelations forward, and we call them prophets. Yeah. Now, in the modern times, the most recent text would be the New Covenant, which is the New Testament. Now, I would suggest that at the time when the New Covenant was made, the New Testament was made, we didn't have certain things like the internet and certain types of technology and certain things going on. But I would still suggest that book deals with some of these things, even without them
Okay.
existing.
So, is the problem with the Bible is that we have so many different interpretations, whereas the Quran and the Torah is the original document,
That's
alleged.
not
The
actually true
same
though,
problem
because
that
you
we've
have
Well,
got
I mean,
now,
many
I'm not
interpretations
which
of
is
100%
all.
sure. I'm
exactly
just,
the same problem that we've got now.
Well,
Different
you got many
interpretation.
interpretations of all the
There
books,
you go.
just like you've got. Hold up, 1 second. You see, for instance, now this is why this is a. I'm not going to say it's a silly argument, but I'm going to tell you the point at which this
no, please
argument falls
educate
apart.
me. Please.
Yeah,
I really
this
want
is the
to
point
learn.
it falls apart. Now you see, if I watch, for instance, I was a child, I grew up, and there was cartoons on the TV. They had Transformers, yeah, on TV. Pause. Not those type of Transformers. They're toy cars and airplanes and stuff. Yeah. So long story short, yeah, like modern day Transformers and that Transformers is two complete different things. But guess what? It's coming from the same concept, from the same original storyline, but they've got their own version in it. So people, no matter what, whether it's a
Is someone
Bible,
having a fight in the background?
I don't know what's going on there, but whether it's a Bible, whether it's a Quran,
Someone's doing some
whether it's
Bible bashing.
yeah, whether it's Roald Dahl, whether it's Star Wars, someone's going to have their own interpretation. So now, previously, Star Wars was its own company. It was George Lucas and these men was doing Star Wars. But now it's owned by Disney. Now Disney's changing things. Now some of these Star Wars followers and supported that. No, that's not right. That don't work like that. That's not. But that's what it is, isn't it? It is what it is. This is the new one now, isn't it? This is the new Star Wars.
Okay, that
And
makes sense.
ultimately, you know, the people who created Star Wars, like George Lucas is of this world, XYZ, it wasn't a thing of, you know, you could just take their idea and run with it. They had to allow for that to happen. So to some extent,
so what
you know,
you're saying is these religious books are written for the times in which they are to be read, and that's why they get rewritten.
Well, not rewritten, but there's been additions.
Or
you know, like
interpreted.
we've got, like I said, we've got the New Testament. If you're dealing with the Jews don't deal with that. The Jews are going to say to you, the Old Testament is
You've gone so
There's
far.
one covenant.
Now, yeah, I'm so lost, right? So different laws are for different times. So like now we've got different laws to fit our times. Yeah. So I'll give you a good example, right? So back in the days, man and man, as a law, whether it's by God or law of the country, was not allowed to marry. Now, because of these times now, it's changed.
Can you stop for a second there? Can you pause 1 second?
No.
I never said different laws. I just want to clarify something. Because you said
that is
you
the
said
law.
different
That's
laws.
the law, right? And that
you said different laws. I'm saying different covenants.
This time, hold on. It was going under the law of God. Yeah, that was not to be done. No gay marriage to be allowed in the church. No priest to be able to become.
That still happens today. That's still to this day.
Wait a second now. Wait a second. Right now, back in them days, you could not get away with it. You could not do it. It was not heard of. That's why
you can't do it today. You can't do it today.
We have women priests,
today,
and we have gay priests.
Changed, bro.
No, we don't.
And now times have changed.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Where?
Now times have changed.
In the Christian church, they have women ministers.
I just
want
they have gay ministers.
I just want to knock
no.
off.
If you're talking about the Church of England, if you're talking about the Church of England, you're talking about a particular church.
We fit the times that fit us. Okay, and we now
not really. No.
We don't listen.
No.
People don't listen to what God says anymore. They listen to what
That's
Boris Johnson says. They listen to what Mr. Putin says. They listen to all their presidents and all the changes that what they make, and they are pressing your religious views.
No, that's not what happens. That's not what
happens. Yet they are hiding underneath the flag or this religious view. I'll give you another example. In Saudi Arabia, you were not allowed to, around the holy site and everything like that, you was not allowed to desecrate it by building, like, you know, hotels and certain things like that. Now they're knocking down shit, changing the laws around there. In certain countries now, in these countries, you're allowed to have alcohol in Dubai and everything like that, where it's the ban. So they are changing it to suit the times of the people.
All right, are you done now? Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is, this has got nothing to do with the religion.
That was cold.
Nothing whatsoever to do with the religion. What you have to understand is the separation of religion and state. So we live in a country that's already done that. They've already separated the religion from this. And ultimately, in the country we're living in the European countries,
no, not really, Schiffer. Schiffer, on that you're wrong.
Really.
Because the Queen is head of the church, and Boris Johnson and the government is appointed by the
church,
confirmed by the church.
There you go.
So there is no separation.
I'm gonna show you the separation now, because I've heard your obviously your rendition, and I understand the approach you've taken with it, but we got to go a lot further back in time and then go forward before we can understand the separation. So if we go back in time, what we're going to understand is you've got Rome, and you've got the Vatican and all of these things. And they've always been two separate entities until you get to a particular emperor, a particular Caesar, I think it is, who then changes it and says, you know what, he wants to be more at one with the church. But to that extent, I can show you right from the beginning, the church was always separate from the state. Now, if you look in modern day in terms, the church is not run by the state. The church is its own entity. It has its pope. It has its power structure. It's got its bishops, its popes, its whatever. Do you understand? Its dukes, its archbishops, X, Y, Z. Yeah. Now that's their structure. The government is not part of that. They don't answer to the king. They don't answer to the queen. Yeah, they're their own entity.
Yes, they do.
When you say
the Queen has to give her official sanction on any document, any law that is passed in Parliament.
No, that's for the normal people, though. That's for the normal people. When I'm saying the church if you're gonna go by the like for instance the indigenous Roman Catholic, then
But we're not talking. We're talking
You're
about
making things up, Shifa.
2022. We're talking about 2022 to
That is
say
but
that
that is a
regardless of
structure.
what's happened in the past,
Look it up, Shifa.
the religion still
it up.
plays in everything that we do in 2022
No.
in the UK is affected by the church, because
No.
the government is appointed by the people, but it is sanctioned by the Queen, who is seen as God on earth.
When you
That
say that
is it.
And guess
by
what?
the church, to some
Listen
extent,
to this.
the church
The
controls a
Church of
certain amount of
England is
votes and a
established
certain
Christian
amount of
church
power.
in England
That's
and Mother
fact.
Church of the England Anglican
That's right.
Communion. It was
Yes.
founded
That's right.
1534 England. Abbreviation
Mhm.
of C of E. Headquarters
15
London.
when?
Supreme Governor
1534.
Queen Elizabeth II.
When you go to
Okay?
court,
Yeah.
you have to swear an oath unto
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
right above that judge sits the crest of
I'm
the
trying to
Queen.
argue with stuff that's written.
All right. So I'm gonna break it down to you. Yeah. Although they may have a church and claim to be a church and
Yeah.
claim to be part of the church,
Yeah.
we then have to ask the question, which church and where does your church hail from? Now, what we have to understand is, like, for instance, we go back in history again and we say,
No.
one
What
second, bro,
book?
one
What
second,
book
bro,
do
one
you?
second,
What
bro, one
Bible do
second,
you?
bro, one
What
second,
Bible do
bro,
you go
one
by,
second, bro,
Shiva?
one
No.
second,
The
bro,
way
one
we
second,
can
bro.
find that
We
question.
already
What
did that.
Bible
We
do you
already
go
did
by,
that. We
Shiva?
already did that. We already did that. I don't
So
need to
what
answer that a
Bible do you
second
go
time.
by, and that will give us
Let's
our
not
answer.
start. Let's not start our argument
No,
because we're
because
having a
you've
very
got the real
controlled debate.
Bible. So what Bible do you
We're
go
having
by
a very
again? Because
controlled
this,
debate. Not Henry the Eighth. Yeah. And what
right.
I'm gonna say,
So okay. So
yeah,
Because he
listen.
what I'm gonna
wanted to
say to you.
divorce.
All
So
right. So
listen.
what I'm
So
gonna
you
say to
go
you. Well, hold
by.
one second, bro. One second,
You
bro.
go by
Just
the
slow
King
down.
James
Slow down.
book, and
Slow
that is
down.
the book
Slow
that
down.
they use.
Slow down.
That is the same book
Hold up.
that they
Slow
use. Is the
down.
King James book.
No.
That is
Slow
the
down.
Church of England book, bro.
Listen, broski.
That's the book
If we're
that you
gonna
use, bro.
listen, if we're gonna have a debate, yeah, you've got to exercise some more control. Because I'm listening to Laughing Tom, and what she's doing is one question at a time. We get an answer to that, then we move on. You've got 7 questions in the middle of an answer. We can't do that. We've got to have more structure. So I'm prepared to answer your questions, but you've got to slow down. We can't debate like that. That's argument. We can do argument, but then it's just going to be,
All right,
it's not
then.
serious.
Right. What question are you answering?
I don't even remember now, but you're asking too many at the same time, is what I'm saying to you. So what you got to do is slow down, figure out what question you're asking,
Pardon me for
and
interrupting.
then
You was talking about the Church of England. You was talking about the Church of England, which
yeah.
does run England. Okay?
Okay. All right, you done there? Should I answer that first?
Go.
Yeah. All right. The Church of England is its own separate entity. Yeah. It's not really part of the overall church. In fact, I would imagine that the overall church community is probably shunning them right now because they've allowed gay marriages or gay ceremonies or whatever it is. You know, they've allowed all of this. Like you said, you got women, whatever, in the church doing certain roles they weren't doing before, and they've gone against the grain, innit? That's the bottom line of it. If you're dealing with the Church of England, that's what they did. They went against the grain and made their own church. You know, their king said, you know what, I want to get divorced and the church won't allow me. Well, guess what? I'm going to separate from your church. I'm going to do my own thing. So as much as you could make the argument, it's not separating state from church. To an extent, it's separating the kingship or the flipping the aristocracy from the church, the sovereignty from the soul. At the end of the day, there's been many layers to this thing. This isn't one layer. It's multifaceted, multi-layered. And once we get into it like that and we can understand, okay, do you know what? They got their own version. They do things their own way. You got Mormons. They got their own version. They do things their own way. You got Jehovah's Witness who's had this argument. So they're saying, do you know what? We're even going to go as far as saying, do you know what? The word God, we're taking it out of the Bible because
Right,
God don't mean
I've got
nothing.
what you're
That's
saying
a
now.
pagan
I've got
thing.
what you're saying. I've got what you're saying. So how do you prove that your thing is the truth then? How do we know what you're saying is the truth?
I don't need to prove it. Why would I need to prove it to anyone? What sense does that make?
Well, what are you preaching here then? So what are you talking about then?
I'm talking about,
do you
like,
agree?
From my standpoint, if you're talking to me as a person, as an individual, from my standpoint, I've got a faith. I don't need to prove that to anyone. I don't need to prove my faith to you. I need to prove that to the Most High.
Right. Okay.
you feel where I'm coming from with that statement? And obviously, I get where you're coming from. Why don't I prove it to everyone else? What's the point? It don't matter what I say to anyone else. If you don't believe, you just ain't gonna believe. That's what we believe. That's what we're taught in church.
May I ask you a question, Schiffer? If you think it's too personal, then just say no, I'm not answering that. I know you've just had a new baby, a new child. Will you be getting your child christened or baptized?
1,000,000,000%.
What, may I ask why?
For the
If the
same
church,
reason I was baptized, for the same reason, isn't it?
Okay. What church are you going to get, and what church are you going to get baptized in?
To be honest, I ain't fully decided.
Don't be controversial now with that question.
I ain't fully decided.
Yeah, you want to say Church of England, don't you? Is that Natty? Is that Natty?
No, I don't want to say church. No, because it's different.
Yeah, I know Catholicism, or
yeah.
I mean, I believe all children should be baptized, regardless of my personal feelings. But so you will get your child baptized, and does that then mean? And does that mean then that you will send your child, possibly in the future, to a church school? Or does that not figure?
Not necessarily. I will make sure that my children know who they are, know what we're dealing with as a family over here, in comparison to what they're dealing with as a family over there, and as a state, and as a government, and as XYZ entities in the world. And that's the most I can do in it, because at the same time, my children are going to live in their own time zone. They're going to be of a certain age at a time where particular things are going on, and they're going to have to find resources and ways of navigating that I'm not going to be up to speed with, because I'm still stuck in my time zone. I'm still dealing with my flipping mentality and the people I'm opposed to.
Okay. So what is your rationale for having your child baptized, christened?
When you say rationale,
what are the benefits? Sorry, you're not asking me a question, you're answering.
Yeah, I would say that it's more about tradition and adherence to the Most High. That's what it's more about for me than anything. The adherence part is probably, in fact, definitely the more important. The adherence part is the more important, but in the second part, the tradition part, it's a point where the family can get together. People who may never get much time to spend with this child are going to be able to spend that little bit of time today and make a fuss. And there's a tradition that comes with that also. Yeah, there's a tradition that comes with it. Yeah.
But no alcohol is going to be at that party, is it, Schiffer?
Why would there be no alcohol? Why'd you say that?
I'm sure in the Bible somewhere it must talk about no alcohol.
It talks about drunkenness, but it doesn't say that no alcohol. Because remember, they had wine at the Last Supper.
Yeah, they had wine. Okay, so you're going to serve Caribbean wine. Okay.
Well, there might be more than wine. There might be some beers. Who knows? But there won't be drunkenness, because drunkenness, that goes against the grain. That's what we're going to try and avoid. I can't
This is a 2-drink bar order.
Well, I can't listen. I'm gonna be honest. I can't tell you what someone else is gonna do. I can.
I know. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing. I'm just messing. Don't take me seriously.
I don't go around preaching the world or nothing. But this is
no. I'm just messing because because this is the contradiction that we have, is that we may contest part of what's in the Bible, but we may have issues with organized religion, and we may believe in spirituality and having a faith, but we all at some point have our children christened or baptized. And it's just a contradiction that just fascinates me, because we all put it down to tradition and the just in case factor. If something happened, at least my child is baptized. But then we spend the rest of our lives, challenging what's in the Bible and who wrote it and what was meant by it and how we use it in modern life.
Listen, I see people get baptized when they play for a new football team. It's all a nice little celebration. It means something to them, and you know what? Sometimes it's a tradition that people have been doing for such a long time.
There's no reason why we shouldn't continue to do it, but it is a contradiction when we're talking about a man-made written book.
Did you see the show yesterday though? Yeah, which is why, like, don't get me wrong, I'm hearing Natty's questions, But if you was really watching what was going on yesterday, like it's almost like I predicted today's show. I predicted if we start talking about certain things where you was gonna go. Because watch this, yesterday's show, we done that. We done the gay imam. Do you remember the gay imam? But remember, the gay imam is segregated. Yeah, he's not in the mainstream. Yeah, and then if you're going to talk about the gay priest, it's the same thing. They're segregated. They're not in the mainstream of the church. Because if you talk about the mainstream of the church, now we have to go to the Catholic. We have to go to the wider audience now. Yeah, because that's the mainstream, isn't it? The wider audience, not the segregated, smaller section.
Isn't there somewhere where it says God loves the man, he just doesn't love the sin, or words to that effect? So even if God thinks being gay is wrong, he will still love you as
and doesn't Jesus love everyone?
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this in reaction to that. I'm gonna say everyone's gonna be judged via their own heart. Yeah, that's what I know the book to say. Yeah. Now, if that be the case, you know, it does, like all of these other things don't matter, because one man was a murderer. That doesn't mean that, you know, he can't find salvation. Because one man was a thief, that doesn't mean he can't find salvation. Because one man was a tax collector, that doesn't mean he can't find salvation. So if you want to slide homosexual in there, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. I'm just going to say to you that all of these things are frowned upon, innit? Murder,
but it's very clear in the Bible the things that Jesus hates, God hates. It's very clear, isn't it?
These things are frowned upon. Adulterers, they're frowned upon, isn't it? But how many people committed adultery this year? How many people went and cheated this year and done X, Y, Z, and last year and the years before? And you know what? When they was young, they said, you know what? I'm young, so you know what? It's not a big thing. You know, maybe I'm just experimenting.
Well, I mean, that is the contradiction between modern life, modern living, and an old book, because in the old book, abortion would not be acceptable.
Exactly.
But in modern life, abortion is acceptable. Now they have this issue in America where it's been overturned.
But this is why I said we living in the devil's world now, isn't it?
Yeah.
That at the end of the day, like that's how I look at the world. People might say I'm controversial, but I'll just give it to you how I see it, because I know this is what Natty really wants. Like, so we can just avoid the crazy questions. I'll just tell you how it goes, innit? Like, there was the Most High. The Most High had his kingdom. He had his throne. His throne was upon us, innit? And he tried to guide us and send us down a certain path. But guess what? There was a devil. There was a Zazel, your favorite demon. Yeah, and he wanted to go against the Most High. He made his own throne. Yeah, he made his own kingdom, his own empire and he took a third of the angels with him. Yeah, and these angels now became demons. So when you kept saying the other day, angels and demons are the same thing, to some extent, yeah. And that's why I pointed out to you, if demons possess people, what makes you think angels ain't possessing people? You know? And then if that is the case, then what makes you think that the book is so unlikely to have happened? Because the book's talking about people being people giving revelation, people being possessed by angels, people speaking to angels, people interacting with angels to any extent whatsoever. Now, even just that interaction, I could still conflate that and say, well, that could have been the possession. You know, like that. Who knows?
But isn't that the get out clause, though?
Nah.
Well, it's not really, no, because.
But it can be used that way.
You need a card.
I'll give you an example of that. A gay bishop marries a heterosexual couple.
Any of them cards up there.
Now, is that marriage really valid in the eyes of the Lord?
It's not about the bishop, though. The bishop, the communion is being made in front of the Most High, innit? It's not about the man who's making it.
But the man who is playing the third party advocate is someone that would be despised by God.
No, he's just a witness. That don't matter. No, I'm going to say this. Ultimately, like, you can't really be a gay bishop. You can't really be a gay pope. It doesn't make sense. It's an oxymoron. We can't do that. You can't be a gay imam. It's not possible.
Well, now, of course you can. You're a man first and a person of religion second.
No, you can't be a gay one, though. It's not
explain
possible.
That to me. Please explain
it. It's an oxymoron. Listen, you are supposed to be an example. Yeah? That's the whole point in me calling you Pope. Because you're the best example we have of a person who's living by the Most High now. So it's an oxymoron. You can't be a murderer. What on earth are you doing? You can't be be an adulterer. You can't.
That is the sin of man. That's the sin of man. Power, the desire for power.
But that's the whole point. He's carrying that weight. That's what he's doing. He's making a sacrifice and saying, you know what? He recognizes that we're all fallible as well, innit? So he's saying, well, Jesus gave up his life, innit? So I'm giving up mine. I'm going to be the Pope and I'm going to live a certain way. He can't be. He's not allowed to be, because that's by his standards, not by mine.
Okay.
So I have
are
to
you
tell him that.
So if you move that conversation on,
could
Jesus appear again on the land, in the world, physically, and be recognized and accepted?
Yes, and in more ways than one.
Okay. Can you sort of explain that for me?
So nothing is impossible where the Most High is concerned, which means that, you know, potentially, you know, if we're gonna look at Jesus as what they say Jesus is in the Bible. I don't say Jesus, I say Yeshua, but because you're saying Jesus,
Yeshua. Okay.
Jesus. Yeah. But I prefer Yeshua. Yeah. So we're gonna say Yeshua, Jesus, whichever one you prefer. Yeah. Which one do you prefer?
Well, I know him as Jesus. I'm not as elevated as you.
For now.
But as is your panel, we'll say Yeshua, because I respect that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So Yeshua, is known to have not only just performed miracles, but to have saved mankind itself, like the whole human race, from its sin. You know, has this awesome power, as well as made certain statements very specific, like being there in the beginning, XYZ. So, you know, we know that we as physical beings, we live and we exist for a certain amount of time on this physical plane. But as spiritual beings, we don't really, a lot of us understand that concept. So I'm going to give it to you on that level and say, you know what? These spiritual beings may have existed before the physical ones. And if that be the case, you know, if they were made in the beginning, i.e. the angels, i.e. Yeshua and the spirit that inhabits him, whether that be the Holy Spirit, whatever that spirit is, however they depict it, that's been there from the beginning of this world that we know as planet Earth, XYZ. So it's always here anyway.
But
never gone anywhere.
But if Yeshua was to appear and said, "Come follow me," would he not be deemed to be mentally unwell? In today's thinking.
Well, in today's thinking, if a person
said, "I'm the son of," I'm the son of God. I've come back. As modern day thinking humans, I think many people would struggle to accept it, to believe it.
Well, that's the whole point in the Bible. That's the whole point in Revelation. That's the whole point why we've got a revelation, because when the Most High comes back, there's going to be a war, because people aren't going to accept it. That's what's going to happen. And then, you know, if you got to think about it like this, if such a person exists on this planet right now, and they've got certain powers, you know, and they can control things that we've never seen. Do you know what I'm trying to say? They can perform miracles, you know.
So he would have to prove himself.
Tom,
is what you're saying.
Remember, in the Bible, they took 1 second. Last sentence, real quick. In the Bible, they talk about things like vessels coming out of the sky. They say horses, but we'll just call that a vessel. So we're talking about spaceships. We're talking about all sorts of things. We're talking about some crazy possibilities here. If such a person existed and they really thought that was him, like they're going to be trying to pick that person up, in it. They're going to be all over them. Like the whole army's out.
Area 51. Area 51.
It's about to get real.
Now,
it's about to get real.
When I mentioned Shaka Zulu, and I spoke about obviously him defending and that they were classing, I said, why were they attacking Shaka Zulu and trying to bring Christian? Now, the guy on the panel said because he was a pagan.
Well, to an extent, I'd have to say that, you know, that's his argument, but, you know, can it be quantified to any extent?
Bro, that's your
because what is a pagan? Well, and why does he use the word pagan? Because I wouldn't say Shaka Zulu was a pagan. I would say that Shaka Zulu was 1 second. I'd say that Shaka Zulu was he was one of the what does Shaka Zulu call it? African spirituality. Yeah.
I thought he was a warrior.
Well, he was a warrior, but he dealt with some type of African spirituality.
Okay.
Now, some people might call that voodoo. Some people might call it witchcraft. Some people might call it pagan. Yeah, and you're gonna get many different labels thrown at a thing, innit? And that's what I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing with him, but I'm not agreeing with him because I don't have to. Because these ain't my labels. I can't make this shit up. It just exists. Like, so to that effect, you know, it's different to Christianity, innit? And Christianity was opposed to anything that was different to it.
So what
Just
about
like
labels
Islam
that they?
is a-
So
was
what
opposed to
about
anything
labels
that
for
was different
monkeys that they
when
used
it
to have
was.
for us before? What about
Huh?
labels for monkeys that we were
Where did
monkeys
that
and
come from?
savages?
I don't know. I'm
From the
confused.
West. I'm just saying from
I've
the
got a
West.
better example, which is we understand that modern man can't replicate the building of the pyramids, and modern man can't understand the meaning of Stonehenge.
I know we know the meaning of Stonehenge. We know the meaning of Stonehenge.
Do we?
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they work that one out. There's the stone circles. There's a tool they use at the stone circles. It helps you to tell the time, so they can actually work out the actual time.
The reason why I say that, there's in the Liverpool Museum, there's a book there, right, where you can see where they wrote for the media over here, let's say their media of their time about savages, right? And there's all kind of stuff where they're thinking like big red lips, like little
Savages always
shoals of,
black people.
yeah.
Coming off
So
in the subject of big red
that's
lips.
why it's very interesting. No. That's why it's very interesting. That's why I said to him, you know,
But
about
look
the
at, but that's the
Christianity.
language that's the
Let me just
language
finish.
of
Let me
that's
just
the
finish.
language.
Let me just finish because that was part of the story. Was why I was saying that. I
Word.
find it very interesting how Christians can come over to another country and call other people pagans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and call them
that's
savages.
because the conqueror always writes history.
But haven't you ever, like, if you ever watched them things like with the Vikings, yeah? And what happens is the Vikings, you know, at first they want to fight the Christians and they're warring with them. And then they realize that these Christians are a bit dangerous and they're too powerful. They start trying to merge with them. Then they become Christians, but enough of them are still practicing their pagan thing, you know?
Yes.
They just go under the title
Even
Christian.
today they do. You know,
Do you understand? So
my daughter does, yeah.
all right, so when we put it in perspective now, like, we have to understand, even when we're dealing with the early Christians, to an extent, we're dealing with a lot of pagans still. Do you know what I'm trying to
Christians
say?
forced
Because
on
they're
you, so
under
you have to
pagan laws.
pretend to
Yeah,
be
but
something.
Christianity was forced upon the Africans, people of
There you
color.
go.
Right?
Was
It's
it?
not. Yes, it absolutely was. Definitely in India and
All right.
definitely in Africa.
Peeps, I'm out.
In what way was it
I'm out.
forced?
Peeps, shit,
In what way
bless,
was it
man.
forced?
Tom, bless.
Okay, thank you.
In what way
What
was
way
it
was it
forced?
forced? Well, it was introduced to them, and it was a route by which to cover up their nakedness, and for them to come to a certain location at a certain time and behave a certain way, so they could be controlled and manipulated.
All right, so let
And
me
then
ask
the
you.
conquering forces could come over and take the people, take the land, and take the raw materials. To this day, Africa, the raw materials in Africa are not owned by the Africans.
And you know what? I'm not going to argue any of those points. I'm going to ask a very simple question: who brought Christianity to the Ethiopians?
I don't know. I don't know anything about the Ethiopians.
And if we can't show who brought Christianity to the Ethiopians, and we can't show who brought similar practices to the first empires in Europe, which were also black, then
well, when I say Christianity, what I'm actually saying, I'm going to be more specific. I'm saying the Bible.
The Bible, but then are you talking about
whether the faith existed before the Bible was written? I can't comment because I haven't really thought that argument through. But I do know from my studies that the Bible was, I mean, African slaves weren't allowed to learn to read because they didn't want them to be informed, but they used the Bible as a tool to control them.
Yeah. I hear you.
So when I talk about Christianity, I'm only talking about the Bible, the book.
I hear you, but then I'm going to say, where does the Coptic Bible come from then?
What do you mean?
That's one of the earliest versions of the Bible.
But who was in the cockpit? Who was in the cockpit?
Well, that's what I was kind of just alluded to. Yeah, so I was saying, if you're going to deal with the Coptic Bible, then you're dealing with the Ethiopians, then you're going back
Okay.
to the old Greek Septuagint, so you're going back to old Europe, yeah, and then we're gonna have to say, okay, well, who were the early Europeans? Who were these people? Who were they represented by? You know, do they look like the people that's there now? You know, like that. Do they have the same practices as the people that's there now? And the people that's there now, where did their practice? When did their practices come in? If they came into the region and wasn't there originally,
we know the
where are they
Greeks and the
coming from?
Romans. Their practicing ideologies were absolutely rampantly bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, whether you would say they were deities or whether you would say they were religious practices or whether you would say they were cultural habits, I don't know. I think all three arguments would fit, or
But
or arguments can be made for each of those three cases. But I mean, ultimately, I believe that religion and a religious book has been used to control people. That is what I believe.
But what was happening to the first Christians? You know what happened with the first Christians?
No, tell me.
They were getting murdered, slaughtered, and run down.
Yeah.
And they were trying to convert them back into paganism. You understand? So the early Christians, the point I'm trying to make is, if you go into these places at the time, a lot of them probably were black people that were being oppressed in the region, because you got all of these new powers coming in. Yeah, you got all of these Germanic tribes and powers coming into the region and dominating now. Macedonians, X, Y, Z.
I know the Native Americans, slightly more modern times. They were murdering the whites that came over there. They didn't want any part of it.
All right, but it would stand to reason that before any of those people came in, there was black people there, because they was the first civilization throughout Europe. When you're dealing with Phoenicians, when you're dealing with what's the guy, Hannibal, and Carthaginians, all of that kind of stuff. Like, we can then kind of put like a lid on that and say, okay, we've covered that subject. End of the day, there was black people there, and at the time when this thing was coming around, there were still black people there. And the earliest ones, guess what? They were murdering them. They didn't want this message out there. That's why when they got the full message, they started to divide it up and said, you know what? We can have this message, but we've got to take control of it, and we're only allowing you to read these parts. The other parts you can't read, and this part we're going to interpret it like this, until we get to certain particular Bibles of today where they said, okay, now they've made a misinterpretation, or this has to be changed because the language was wrong or something. So now we've got all these different interpretations. Do you understand?
Yes,
and
I agree with you. I think that the dilution of the original word in whichever language or format it was taken in has been diluted to such a way that it's now become quite a controversial subject for
we'll
every
never
religion.
be able to look at that. We'll never be able to look at those original documents, because those original documents are going to be in a place like the Vatican under lock and key, security and guard, and all the rest. Now, obviously, we know that these documents must exist because, for one, we've got the evidence as the Bible itself. But for two, we know the Bible was not written.
You've got the Dead Sea Scrolls, haven't you?
You got Dead Sea Scrolls, but we know it itself in entirety. When we're dealing with the
The Rosetta Stone.
All right, but 1 second. When we go back to the first one, the LXX, which is the Greek Septuagint, we know that their rendition is that their thing was translated by 72 scholars. What were they translating? Because if they're translating, that means the original thing was not in Greek.
And I agree, but these are the contradictions that savvy people will raise, whereas other people will just follow. They will just follow without challenge.
Well, if you know about Alexandria and them things there, that's where the scripts, all of the stuff that they were translating, that's what it's coming from. It's coming from that campaign where Alexander goes into, he conquers the Persians, and he goes from Persia all the way down to Egypt, into Africa. To be honest, that's besides the point. What's the purpose of for him being in the conversation is that he conquered certain places and took certain books and took control of certain priesthoods and certain ways of thinking, XYZ, and lifestyles, and then he tried to place himself there as a god. He wanted them to worship him as a god, but those people won't worship him as a god. And then his own people started to defect and go to like Osiris's temple and go to different temples and doing what the people that's there are doing. So they found a way to amalgamate it with their thing to some extent to start off with, but
don't
that
you
didn't
think
work.
don't you think
Yeah.
it's really interesting that something as simple as a religious faith can have so many complexities, so
Well,
many
this is the thing.
dilutions? It's
When
just
you
not a
say
simple
dilution,
just not a simple route.
when you say dilutions, I just call it translations, because
Yeah,
at the end of the
yeah.
day, what they did at first would have been a dilution, yeah, and that was to amalgamate themselves with it and to try and write themselves into the book and done all of this weird stuff. That it just never worked. Like that's the Bible that they hide. You'd never hear about that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
no one ain't got a version of that. If you got a version of that, it's probably worth money right now. Do you understand? Yeah.
Well, it's
So they got
priceless. Yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
of
So they
course.
scrapped that version because before it was Jesus, it was Serapis. Do you know where I'm coming from? But all of that got scrapped. And now what they've done is they said, all right, you know what? We're going to keep things as they are, but we're only going to use particular parts. Certain parts of this book we're going to take away. Certain passages we're going to take away. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So now you've got this rendition. But ultimately, in the core message, you know, what they must have realized is if they change too much, then the book is rendered ineffective. Do you feel what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
gave you just enough. Do you feel where I'm coming
Yeah,
from? That's how I
yeah,
look at it.
yeah.
Now, to that effect, that means that, you know, most people, when they read a Bible, you know, they're probably going to come back and say that. They're going to say there's a lot of goodness in this book,
Yeah.
but, you know,
I think they gave you enough truth to hide the lies
yeah, there's points
or
where,
to
you know,
mask the lies. Yeah.
yeah, there's points where people can find what they may believe is a contradiction or, you know, XYZ. Like I said, you got the Old Testament, the New Testament. If you don't look at it the way I'm looking at it and say, do you know what, that was the old covenant, this is the new covenant. That's why certain things can get a pass now, but certain things couldn't get a pass before. And it was too hard for people. That's why that's why the Most High made the new covenant, because realize it's too hard for people. No one's going to make it. So I'm going to give
But
you a lot of chance.
do you not think that then comes down to the argument between the reading the literal, what it says is what it means, and then the argument for interpreting what is read and what is written? Because I think that's the biggest argument in religious scriptures. Some
I hear
faiths,
you.
what is written is what they believe. It says
I hear you.
every fifth day is a blue day, so every fifth day I wear blue. That's what they read and that's what they believe. Whereas others will interpret that and say, well, every fifth day is a blue day, but what does blue mean? Do you know what I mean? And I think that's kind of, that is where
That's human nature,
mankind
though.
has evolved. I think that's where mankind has evolved from not being particularly literal, but just accepting what they were told and
I
now
kind of agree
challenging
but
what they were
disagree.
told.
I kind of agree but disagree for this reason. At the end of the day, like we said earlier, I believe man is no different today than the man who lived thousands of years ago. I feel we're the same man. We've got the same feelings, the same
Yeah,
emotions.
I agree.
You know, we want similar things,
Yeah,
X,
I
Y,
agree.
Z.
Absolutely.
Now, once I put that in perspective, I'd have to say that really and truthfully, what was you talking about again? Sorry, I got a bit
I was
confused
just
there.
saying the literal interpretation of a document and
Yeah.
the
Yeah, the
interpretation.
interpretation. Yeah, the interpretation. So, long story short, everyone's going to have their own interpretation regardless. Yeah. So, for one person, you say blue, and blue is a positive because you know what, they like blue, and blue is cool. For another person, you say blue, and they're blood, and they don't like Crips, and now they're upset because you're talking about blue. They thought you were trying to get at them, and it
Yeah.
just turned on a certain emotion. And I think that that's what happens with interpretation. That people read things. 10 of people read the exact same story, the exact same sentence. Yeah, and it says, do you know what? There was a fat woman sitting outside the shop. Yeah, and 5 people out of the 10 interpreted this fat woman as being ugly. 5 people out of the 10 interpreted her as being good looking because they like fat.
Yeah.
You know, like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and vice versa. So we could do a skinny woman or a slim woman or a buff woman, and depending on what word you use, if I say a thick woman, now it gets even more controversial, because for some people they're going to interpret thick and they're going to say thick means, you know, she was very voluptuous. Then another person going to say she's thick, she's dumb. you know, like that. So they're
Yeah.
interpreting it. Do you understand? So it's like, at the end of the day, words are always going to be misinterpreted. That's unavoidable, unfortunately, because people are so emotional. You know, if we didn't have emotions and we weren't so emotive, then we'd be like computers, like robots, and everything would be exactly concise, precise, down to the number, down to the letter, down to the word. Do you feel where I'm coming from? But
Yeah.
because they're not, you know, we just say it the way we see it. I look at it the way I see it, and the way I see it is, do you know what? If you're a pedophile, that's just wrong. And you know what? We just don't need people like you around. You shouldn't even be allowed back into society. You should be kept away from people from that point onwards. They should make a new society for people like you, and only people like you can be there, because we don't want you over here. Do you feel where I'm coming from? But
Yeah.
that's still my emotion speaking more than the actual logic. That's how I feel about it. But how do other people feel about it? For someone else, their child was the paedophile. They're like, you know what? He done what he done, but we want to give him a chance. Do you understand?
Yeah, but then that brings into question your moral code, not your religious values.
Well, when you say it brings into question your moral code, I would say yes and no. I'd say it brings into question everyone's moral code. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's going to be the same argument if someone's a murderer. Someone murdered someone. There's going to be someone who sees murder the
Well,
same way
it
I
does say
see
somewhere in the Bible, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. So doesn't that then assume? But then I know it also says to turn the other cheek. So there's a contradiction there.
exactly. And that's what I mean when I say people who's going to think there's a contradiction when there's no contradiction. We're living in a new covenant. And if it's a new covenant, it means that the old way was too hard for you. You weren't going to make it. You understand? You weren't making it. That's it. Your life's done in it, because this life don't mean nothing. This is only the beginning. Yeah.
Would
This
you
ain't even
then?
the beginning.
Would
This
you
is really
then?
the beginning.
Would you then elevate the argument that living in the world that we're living in now, that this perhaps is a form of purgatory, and we elevate from this to one place or the other?
Say that again. Sorry, I was reading the chat.
Well,
I didn't.
yeah, the chat's quite interesting. I was
That
reading
is
it
a mad
too.
man. You know? Why are you here? Like you just jumped off in the
He
chat.
said it was too hard. What was too hard?
Do you know what it is, sis? Yeah, it's a difficult conversation where someone wants you to give them definitive proof, not definitive answers. They want definitive proof, what they're happy with. And, you know, that's not something I can provide you with, because I'm dealing with faith. I'm not dealing with something that I can tell you.
Well,
I can call
you don't
God
have
to
access to all the scriptures.
and not
You know.
even that, I don't have access to the Most High. Most importantly,
Yeah.
I don't have access to an angel at the click of a fingers that I can tell him to make the screen flicker and appear as an angel.
You don't have access to
anything.
WhatsApp the angels.
I don't have access to an angel that can do magic tricks or
Yeah.
do anything to make him feel like he's got the proof that he wants. So
Yeah. Well,
it's
that's
better
why I
we
said if Yeshua was to return to come to earth today, even if he said, this is who I am, many believers still wouldn't believe it was him. Because I think we've been programmed not to accept that.
It depends, man. I think it's like when Yeshua was here the first time, yeah, loads of people didn't believe he was who he said he was until he started doing miracles, until they saw what he could do. When they saw what he could do, all of a sudden everyone believes now. Everyone was turning other people into believers, and all sorts of things is going on. But I think to some extent,
but then at those times we didn't have the issues with mental health, we didn't have the issues so much with politics, we didn't have populations the size that we have now, we didn't have the technology.
TV.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The way TV and certain demonic devices can influence whole entire nations of people.
Exactly.
Within
If David,
time. Think about it like this: only certain people at that time would have been witness to these miracles. There would only been a certain amount of people that could have actually known this person and seen firsthand what's going on. But other people still believed it because they were so confident in it. Do you feel what I'm trying to say? But in today's day and age, I think that we'd have the same situation where only a certain amount of people would ever actually get to see something that, wow, that this must be true. Do you know, like that?
But not just that, our
expectation
of wonder and amazement is so much more critical now, because we've got modern technology and we've got CGI and all of that. So when we see things being created on the screen, our expectation of what a miracle would look like in real life is so much bigger. I mean, if somebody, I don't know, if somebody made Buckingham Palace disappear, then that might impress us. We'd be like, what do you mean Buckingham Palace is, and it's just, there's not a hole, there's not a bomb
not
site.
hard.
It's
That's
just,
not hard, though.
suddenly Buckingham Palace is just no longer there. It's just a flat piece of land.
I get you, but they just
do you know what I
vaporize
mean?
it.
It's our expectation.
They come up with some new technology, some new type of mad laser, and they vaporize that thing. If that's what it's going to take to change people's minds, I'm sure the government's probably got that one planned for them.
But I'm saying it would take something like that rather than taking a child that's paralyzed and making them walk. That would be like, oh, well, that was always going to happen. It's medical intervention. It was just a temporary spinal injury. Whereas, in the days, when he walked on the earth, he would take a paralyzed person and they would walk.
So you're agreeing with me then? You're agreeing with me in the sense of people are fickle at the end of the day. Yes. And it don't matter what you show them sometimes. Even if you have sufficient proof, they're still not going to believe it regardless because they believe what they believe. And I think like with especially with this thing here, what we're talking about here, it's like I said to someone, I saw this thing on the internet and a child he got shot with a shotgun to the head. Yeah. Half of his head was gone. Like, I mean, like there's literally no head there. There's just a crater.
Like Sasha Johnson's head. Yeah.
And this child's still walking, moving, talking, breathing.
Yeah. It's like children born with half a brain. Still
if that ain't a miracle, talk to me, man.
Miracles, the thing is, miracles happen every day. We just don't recognize them as miracles.
All right. It's like I said to someone the other day, I said, I've heard people say things, where, they may have been in a situation and they said that they blacked out and they did something crazy. Something crazy happened, and you say to them, "Well, how did that happen? How did you do? What happened? What did you do?" And I don't even remember. I blacked out. Am I the only person who's ever heard someone say, "Oh, I blacked out," or have other people heard this too?
No, I've heard people say that.
Another one I've heard people say, they say, "I just saw red. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember what I done. I just saw red."
It's like when you see now there's an accident and two women pick up a car. They don't know how they got the strength to. They just knew they had to get that car off their child.
All right. We don't know how we find the strength. It just comes from magic. Where it comes from.
Exactly. I mean, if that is not a moment of a miracle, I don't see a statue of Mary with blood coming out of her eyes. I don't see that as a miracle. I see that as something suspect. But other people do see that as a miracle.
All right, but there's things that happen in our day-to-day life that are outside of the norm that we can't explain by any other means other than saying that's how I define miracle. So it don't have to be that, a whole building disappeared or some magic trick happened. It needs to be something real. That child getting shot in his head, 9 times out of 10, someone gets shot in the head, you're dead. Goodbye. See you later. One shot, one little bullet wound. That's it. Finished. This child got half of his head blown away. The blood's leaking out everywhere. Yeah. He's still alive.
Well, that is a miracle. But, my miracle that I want to see is Boris Johnson tell the truth. That would be a miracle.
That would be a miracle too. It would be a miracle if all politicians had to tell the truth all the time. If Tell Live Vision told the truth all the time, that would be a miracle. If Tell Live Vision said, when the advertisement comes on, it shows you the advertisement, it says, you know what, we tried this out, it's not all that, or it is all that, or it just gave you the actual real schematics of what's going on with this thing. Is it worth it? Is it not? Then like the world would be a different place, but that's never going to happen.
No, it's not. It's not, because we live in a consumerist society and that we wouldn't function. But do you know what, Shifa? I've enjoyed this grown-up debate. No bad words, no cuss words. It was all a bit of back and forth, a bit of banter and giggles, and that's what. And I feel that you've challenged my thinking, and I'm going to look into some things and think about things a bit more differently, and I'm very thankful for that, because that is what conversation is about.
I think
it's not always about confrontation.
Yeah, I think that's why Natty left, because I think sometimes, especially the way I'm so confident and my faith is so strong, people may get the impression, like I feel like Natty got the impression I'm going to try and change him. I'm going to try and influence him to do what I'm doing or to change his faith or his belief. I don't care what no one. It's not my problem what anyone else believes in. I care what I believe in. I care what my kids believe in, my family, because I'm directing them. I'm the captain of this ship over here. Do you understand? It's like if you watch one of them programs like Star Trek and you got like, you got one captain on one ship, you got another captain on another ship, and they might run things slightly different. And sometimes they might even disagree, and they might have be in the same fight against the same opponent. And one says, you know what, nah, I'm not part of this. I'm leaving you to it.
Yeah.
Because we're on different things, isn't it? Do you feel where I'm coming from?
But
and I still respect you as a captain.
But that's about respecting the individual person and the individual choices and beliefs. And that is one thing that I think religious groups don't often do, because one religious group will say what you believe is wrong, and another will say, no, I'm right. And I say that to say this. I do not believe that the Jewish population are the chosen people. They choose themselves, absolutely. But I do not believe they are the chosen people. And I object to their level of power that they have in this world.
All right, can I speak to that? Can I speak to that comment in particular? I'm going to say this, as far as, I am concerned, I know what I'm dealing with. And I'm happy to continue dealing with what I'm dealing with and believing in what I believe in. If Jewish people believe what they believe, whatever that is, and whatever they believe in, I'm happy for them to believe that also. I don't think that takes away from me having my belief and doing what I'm doing over here. I don't think that them believing something or working towards something is going to stop me from believing something and working towards something. So to that effect, let them have their say, let them have their thing, let them do their thing. I got no problem with anyone, any other faith, any other religion, any other culture. The only problem I have is when you want to shut my one down. That's the only problem I have. And when you want to go.
They are the only people. They are the only race that's made a religion their race. They are the only group of people that I can see that you cannot attack their faith at 100%.
I disagree. I think
you can't challenge Jewishness or the things that they do. The things they do in Palestine, you will be shut down.
Yeah, but why would you? This is the thing now. Do we challenge Britishness and what British people do and what they're doing in whatever country they're in, doing whatever they're doing? No, we don't. So
I challenge a group of people that anglicize their names, that hide behind being British or American, that are in charge of the movie industry, that are in charge of the banking system, that have great influence over the political structures all across the globe. I challenge that because I cannot say anything about the Rothschilds or about any Jewish community without being attacked for being anti-Jewish, and so on and so forth. And yet they are a force of people, a force that literally runs the global economies in many different stratas.
I can't prove that, but I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not going to say anything's right.
Think how many actresses and actors are Jewish but have English surnames.
I hear that, and I'm like I said, I can't prove it wrong or right, so I'm not going to go into whether it's wrong or right. I'm just going to say this: as far as I'm concerned, I'm more concerned with who I am and people like-minded to myself and what we're doing and how we're progressing. And if those Jewish people have found a way to progress, a way to protect themselves from slander, from attacks in any way, shape, or form, then you know what? Like that I would say that we need to do the same. I'm not going to attack them over it. I'm not going to say that they're wrong for doing what they're doing, because they're doing the best by their people, by their own standard that they've created. I didn't create their standard. I don't know what they're doing like that. Do you know like that? I just know what we're doing over here, and I'm going to focus on that. And if the Jewish people say that, you know what, we are Jewish people and we're a race of Jews, I'm not here to argue with them. I call myself an Israelite. I hope no one's here to argue with me constantly about it. And that's how I look at it. Like, we don't have to be at war with no one.
You want to get a Jewish, an Orthodox Jew up on your panel. That would be such an interesting debate.
I've met a good few Orthodox Jews though, because obviously London, you got Stamford Hill.
Yeah, Stamford Hill,
Do you know where I'm coming from?
And Finchley.
All right, so you know, there's been times I've met, you know, may know people who come from even Orthodox Jewish families, and it's like I don't see them as a problem or any different to any other human being. And I understand they have a structure that some people may be unhappy with, X, Y, Z. But at the end of the day, when we are, for instance, as black people, then when we're going to say things like, you know, the white man rules the world and, you know, he's got all the power, X, Y, Z, I'd pretty much say, yeah, the Jewish man can fit into that category. The only difference I'd say is that, you know, the Jewish man is not seen this in the same what's the word, ethnic origins as, say, the Germanic man.
Yeah.
Some of them see them as different.
Yeah.
And that's where this whole Holocaust and all of this, you know, Jewish oppression is stemming from. So regardless of whether they call themselves Jewish, regardless of whether that is the original thing they were called, or whatever title they give themselves,
they have protected their people. They have protected,
and
they continue to do so.
Yeah, they've got their place in the world.
That's another way of looking
their place in the world, isn't it? So I'm not trying to take that away from them. I'm just upset when people try to take away ours or mine. Do you feel where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we all need to what's the word? Just like you've got, like, for instance, you said the Jewish people, then they've got their own state, their own country. You see, as black people, there's no country that is called black, or that's just black. It's just, you know, it's not black. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Every country is an individual nation, isn't it? And it's got a name to it and a culture to it. It's not necessarily about a color. Do you feel where I'm coming from? So I think, like, especially for people like, you know, people like myself and yourself who are, you know, living outside of Africa, then they call us the diaspora or whatever they call it, you know, maybe that's something that, you know, is a hurdle for us, in the sense of the nations we do have to even go back to, they weren't even formed by us. They were formed by someone else. So do we not call that place home just because England called it Jamaica? You know, like that.
Yeah, I think as people of color, I think we are so fragmented. I think it will be difficult for us to unite. Not impossible, but it's a journey to unite. And it will take generations, more generations still to come. Maybe another 4, 5, 6 generations. But at the moment, we know we are divided tribes across the globe, and we are divided by how kinky our hair is, how light our eyes are, and how light or dark our skin is. And those are all, in my opinion, they're just irrational reasons for people to be divided.
I hear you, but then in another sense, you know, I could even add the argument from earlier and say religion is another reason for people to be divided. Because one's a Christian, one's a Muslim, one's a Jewish, one's a Hindu.
But how do you know we're divided?
Well, I don't have to know we're divided. We know we're divided. It's not about what I know, it's about what we know. We know we're divided when we go somewhere and we're not accepted.
But how do we know we're not accepted?
We know we're divided when people are colorist within our own community.
You see it, but that's about acceptance again. When
but I'm just saying, we know when we're divided.
We
know. Look, but let's be
all of
honest
these
with
little
ourselves.
things, isn't it? All these little things.
But let's be honest, we know we're divided people. We don't stand
but how do we
united on
know
one
that,
single thing. What are all black people united on?
Yeah, but how do we know we're black people? Who says we're black people?
Well, I always use the term black as making a political statement.
But who created political?
Is this Natty?
Yeah.
Natty, you're hardcore, man.
Yeah, give me a minute because I got a phone call. But Natty's got some hardcore questions for you. So
I love it because it's really testing. It's testing my beliefs and my thought processes. That's what I want. I want to be tested. You know, that's how I'm going to grow and how I'm going to learn. But this is just what I believe. Why do I believe it? It's I maybe through my experience in life. Maybe from what I see, maybe how I see how black people or people of color engage with each other on online and offline. You know, maybe every time I go into a council office and I'm faced with another black woman and the way she speaks to me is way different to how she spoke to another person in front of me. Maybe when I go to the doctors and I'm getting some kind of weird vibes from the black receptionist.
Have you ever thought if there was two sides of the world? two armies, what would happen? Do you reckon there would be peace, or do you reckon there'd still always? What would be the main object?
Well, who benefits from peace? Who benefits from peace, first of all?
Well, if there's always two sides, I know one thing. Yeah, two sides always compete, day, night, up, down.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd be looking at it's us, and we'd be looking at it's them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it nowadays, where we're also mixed up and all on certain different levels, it's like, I remember in the news one time, Mr. David Cameron said that he can't live on a zero contract hour, can't live on all that minimum wage, right?
Yeah.
Now, when a leader spoke like that, let's go back 10 years ago, in the newspapers, he's getting his head shot off. Like, people are going out in the streets and coming together, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, what I think what someone
Well,
said
are you
earlier
talking
on,
about riots?
Yeah, riots, or maybe not
yeah,
riot,
okay.
but coming together to say, get out of here, because if it's
Well,
not good enough
I think
for
a
you,
better example would be the introduction of the council tax. Was it the poll tax?
the poll tax, but the zero on live on air, he goes,
Okay.
they go, can you live on the zero contract hour? And he goes,
Mm-hmm.
no, I couldn't. So if that's a kick in the face, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All these joke policies that we're seeing now, all these jokers and clowns that are getting caught up in scandals and all this is brand new, because princesses and kings and all these people, they were the closest thing to God, we used to believe.
Yes.
Yeah, they were like the royalty. They were like prim and proper. They were like,
they were the idols.
The idols.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
What I'm basically trying to say is that because certain people are on a rich level, there's certain people now, yeah, that might be from an Indian family who might be billionaires, and they might be thinking, well, we're billionaires, we're good. Oh, and plus not only that, all these people
our Chancellor
below us,
of the Exchequer,
they make
you mean?
us money. Yeah. So they won't even look at their own people now and say, yeah, we want to do good for them, because they know there's so many people around the world. It's all about money now. It's not about,
But that's why
community.
COVID is in the after effects of COVID is all the nations of the world resetting the economy. COVID gave the bankers the opportunity to reset the global economy. There are places now you cannot actually use cash. It has to be all electronic. The value of the money in your account,
right?
You think you've got X, but actually you don't, because that money's been lent out to everyone. Where do you think mortgages come from? It comes from the money in your savings account. And they're closing banks. So you're having less and less direct access to the spoils of your labour. And the cost of living is spiraling because all those monies that they gave people during the pandemic, they're now finding ways to claim it back. I'm going to give you a perfect example.
So can I give you a list?
Yeah, okay.
Can I give you a list of those? Can I give you a list? So
we
were talking about the Bank of England.
I'm going to give you a perfect example.
So can I give you a of England? Yeah.
Before you go, can I just say, before you go, 1 second, slow down, 1 second. I think there's an echo.
So can I give you
1 second, 1 second, everyone. Before you go, can I just say, before you go, 1 second, slow down, 1 second. There's an echo.
So can I give you
1 second, everyone. Before you go, can I just say, before you go, 1 second. Wow, that was crazy. Are we still getting echo? Yeah, that was nuts. I don't know what happened there. Laughing Tom. Oh shoot, hold on.
Bare feedback on that there.
Yeah, that was nuts. I don't know how that was coming through. Sorry about that, Laughing Tom. That echo thing was nuts. That was mad. Hey, big up Jay Savage. Yeah, you're funny. You're funny still. You're funny. Big up though, brother. Same time. Yeah, the audio was nuts. Mr. Pilu, big up. Urban Analysis, big up. Laughing Tom, if you're still around, sis. arrived back.
Is
Stanley,
that
big up,
Stanley?
brother. You don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Stanley.
that's Stan. MES, big up yourself. Yeah, this is Jokes and Banter. Make sure you hit the like button, you share, you subscribe, you do all of that good stuff. You know, if you share with a couple of people, hopefully we're gonna get some new panelists and more entertainment up here for you. The cash apps up there. If you feel a mind, send us a cash app so you know we can help maintain the show and pay for the stream yards and events and stuff for you lot to do, and give some free giveaways and all of that good stuff that you want. Yeah. Now I'm gonna go back to the show, but I thought we're gonna have to do a slight intervention just to make sure we remind you where you're at, what it's about. And Laughing Tom, if you're about, jump back on, sis. Sorry about the audio. I'm not sure what happened there. There was an echo.
I was more than echo, man. I thought he was making a beat, bro.
Yeah, that was mad still. I'm not gonna that was mad. It sounded crazy. It sounded like we was all talking over each other, but we weren't. That was nuts. That was nuts. So what's up, Stan?
Nothing much. Just hopped in to talk to Natty.
Yeah. I like Stan, man, because it seems like, I don't know, man, like I liked my history at school, and I don't want to be a hypocrite and not, take on what everyone says and everything like that, but a lot of it did make sense, and a lot of it the Europeans were very proud of, and they didn't have to hide much.
I got a question for you then. Do you think sometimes that not all, but maybe possibly some black people could get so tied down on black issues they fail to see the bigger picture?
Yes.
What about you, Stan?
Absolutely.
In what regards, like, how would you demonstrate that? What kind of examples could you give?
Well, I know I'm going to piss some people off, but I think Pan-Africanism is getting too deep in the weeds.
Jeez. Well, you went through a whole culture, a whole mindset, yeah. Hey,
well, I mean, I don't have a problem with it per se, but when you start, well, I know I'm going to piss some people off again, but I think sometimes, and I'm thinking of specific people. I don't mean to make a blanket statement about every Pan-Africanist, but there are one or two that I know that it amounts to basically denying reality. So when you start planning stuff around a specific mindset to the detriment of your take on reality, yeah, that's going a bit too far. And essentially what I'm saying is I think anything taken to the extreme, I'm just not that person. You should always be kind of balanced in your approach. To me, balance is flexibility. And there are people who sometimes become inflexible, or, another word for it is, being agile. If you're, if Pan-Africanism or whatever your ism is, if it is the lens that you view the world, and if you're basically thinking your ideology is the theory of everything, then that's probably not going to turn out well in the
end. Sorry, what? Hold on. You know that last bit that you just said, yeah. So yeah, you said if your ideology is what?
Well, if your ideology winds up being your theory of everything, basically everything is run through a specific point of view or lens on reality, then it's probably it's possibly to your detriment. Whether it makes you inflexible. The question was, can can you take things too far? Can what you believe in take over your life and essentially make you inflexible to a point to where you can't react to things that are actually happening day to day? Then it's extremism.
Yeah, I mean, Stan, like someone made a good point earlier on that, there may have been 9 planets in our orbit now. Now there's 8. This happened. Now we've decided that this air is this type of air. Things don't always stay the same. Yeah, but there is a common ground that we all agree on: air, that we breathe it. Yeah,
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not
water.
denying
That
commonality, but I think that sometimes people can go so far as to deny commonality. Um, and I have specific examples, but I don't really want to get too deep in the weeds with them. But if every white person on earth is a devil, that's probably taking whatever ideology you have too far.
Yeah, way too far.
And there are people who do that.
You're creating an
There
enemy. No, you're creating an enemy.
exactly, and you're certainly not going to win friends and influence people, with that
No,
sort of
exactly.
attitude.
With that same vibe, because then it's exactly like them saying that all black people are devils.
Exactly, or stupid, or low IQ, etc.
All that, yeah. But that is why nowadays, that's why we are able to compete and we're able to do things at a certain level. So
Right.
what I'm basically trying to say is, if you're gonna have that mindset that this man came from a foreign country, knew nobody, and now he's a multi-billionaire in somebody else's country because he took all the stick, he took all the flat, kept his nose down, and then all of a sudden now he's become something because he fought the legislations and knew that, hold on a minute, your government relies on my government. You know, I'm legally allowed to be here. I've got my rights, and if I go down the right path about it, then I can get what I want. And if so be it, if there is an obstacle, then I have to highlight that obstacle for that time, and then not be stuck on that obstacle. Say, okay, look, you know what? I've knocked down the obstacle. Now that I've made my voice with these people, I still have to engage with these people furthermore for them to get used
Right.
to my way of life or my policy. So, like I said to them, the policing thing, if it was a thing where if you're going to be a snitch for being a black man as a policeman, don't be surprised when you get arrested by a white man.
or in
Okay,
America, shot.
okay, because look, nobody wants to get arrested by anybody, right? Nobody wants to get arrested by nobody, right? But if you're gonna get arrested by a group, that are dominating it, then yeah, okay, that group may take over. Why? Because there's none of you lot in there, and that's down to you. That's down to you to be able to get yourself into
Well,
this thing to start evening this out.
I th- I think what you're saying is, you don't want, an organization, be they the cops or, whatever the law enforcement arm is, you don't want it. You want diversity is essentially what you're saying. But you can also be, accommodationist, being an accommodationist. I mean, that's an ideology that can be taken too far also. That's, when people call people, at least in the US, and Uncle Tom, well, that's a pejorative, but there are people who are too willing to be accommodationist.
Now we understand that,
Right. Well,
and
I
that's
just wanted
worse.
to throw that caveat. I'm
That's
not
the
really
same.
disputing
That's
what
the
you
same
say.
as being. That's the same as being as the person that you're trying to like. There's no point in
Right.
being that.
Right.
What I'm basically trying to say, like, on the separation on the separation thing, is that if you're going to use that and separate yourself rather than giving other people a chance, knowing like when it says know your neighbor, innit? So
Right.
you know your friends, you know people that you can mess with, you know people that are good for you, you know people that aren't too good for you. You know that, hold on a minute, why is it that all we're eating is potatoes? It's because you live in a place where it's just potatoes. If you go out there, there's people trading with other different things.
Right.
Now it's up for you to take your ass and don't just stick to what you know and go and get what everybody else is, because this is what these corporations are doing. They don't care who you are. They don't care if you're buying a Gucci bag. They know it's money.
Well, I'm actually going to make a very kind of in the weeds point, though. Corporations do know who you are. It's called demographics. So they know
Yeah,
who you
sure,
are.
yeah. But they don't care. Like when I mean, all right,
Well,
look,
they
look
don't
how.
they don't care. They just know what your demographic is and what, trends are within a demographic. Now, you're right. All they care about is making a profit. I won't dispute. All they're doing with
And
demographics is becoming more efficient at selling a product.
because, like I was trying to say to people, I'm only going to have like a slave because they are useful. No country will have a slave in their country and then cry out, "Oh, these people are no good," blah blah blah, because they must be better than you because they're doing something that you obviously cannot do. So these people that have put you into power, they don't even care about your feelings because they're over it. The game what they're playing is we've got ourselves in position of power. You guys are in a box and we're just gonna rattle this box and there's all kind of wasps in this box and you guys are just gonna sting each other whilst paying and getting on with normal life because we're voicing you and we're saying this and we're showing you what you want to see on TV and what you don't want to see on TV. We can easily show, uh, you know, wealthy rappers. Yeah, well, these guys are getting too wealthy. What are we gonna do? Let's bring them down a notch. Let's put this up. But yeah, you'll still, promote it. Once you can get control of it, you'll promote it.
Well, I think I mostly agree with what you're saying,
I think what I'm
but
basically saying,
it's up
sins,
it,
these
it's up
the
to
sins are the
it- it's up
tools. The sins are the tools what navigate us all.
the sins of
Because
who?
like the sins, so like money, um, sex, race, all of these things are the tools that these systems advertise a lot. They put it on films a lot. They put it.
Well, I don't know. Um, to a certain extent, I agree, but I mean, you can watch a bunch of, um, I mean, if you're trying to say that, say the entertainment industry, if you're big into movies, you're going to see people smoking and, doing all kinds of things. But on the other hand, there are, you know, um, there are movies or TV programs with positive messages too. It's just that sometimes, the quote sinful programs are a little bit more attractive to watch, a little bit more scintillating. But
So like porn. So
the
like
thing
porn.
is,
So like porn. I mean, people can't just have sex out in the street or can't.
well,
Well,
I,
they
I
could,
can
but
tell
yeah,
you.
but
But see,
yeah.
I don't,
But
I
then
don't
who
think
controls that?
porn.
Who legalizes it for that to be that way?
Well, in America, it's a free speech thing. You pretty
Okay, but
much
yeah, but who are you accommodating now? So now you're accommodating Jews, Muslims, Christians, ordinary people,
with
and
porn.
and then you've got these things.
Oh, I don't know that I agree with that. I mean, religious groups tend to be,
Yeah.
by and large, of course, there are
hmm
exceptions, but I
hmm
would think, you marketing porn to, a religious group, I don't know how profitable that would be. I don't think Jewish porn is a thing.
I'm not saying Jewish porn is a thing, but they have porn, and they have it in places where people are obviously going to be against it, and then they're obviously going to be in conflict with one another. And instead of being in
Can you give me
conflict,
an example?
I'll give you the example. So if I was president, right, and I've got all of these faiths in my country, porn is definitely one thing will be banned. Because would you agree with me that would you reckon that faiths would be against me or with me?
I think you couldn't do it, depending on
No,
the
no, no.
country
I'm just
you're in. I
asking.
mean,
No, no. I'm just saying. In America, I'm just saying, Muslims would. If I said to the Muslims, I'm going to ban porn, would they say yes or no?
not being Muslim, there are Muslims who could probably answer, but my guess is the majority of them would be for it, as would fundamentalist Christians, etc.
Right. Okay. Right. Let's say for instance. Let's say for instance. Stuff like where people beat themselves up and do pooing and all that type of stuff.
Sadomasochism.
Yep, all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's available. Okay. Now I want to
Right.
I want to accommodate for everybody, right? And do the right thing, right? So what I want to do is say to these people, in your religion, does it allow you to do this? So why would they accommodate it? That's what I'm basically trying to say. So does it
Well,
allow you?
not
No, it
every.
does not. No, sir, it does not allow us to
Well,
emasculate
no.
ourselves like
Let
that.
me
So
answer your
no.
question.
So I reckon the Muslims would definitely say to me, no, chuck that away. Now I'll go to the Christians, say Christians.
Well, hold on. Let
Do,
me
do you
give you
think
a good example.
do you,
I know, for instance, when I was in the Navy, um, you would go to somewhere like Saudi Arabia, and there's no alcohol. It's a pretty
right,
strict country.
right,
However, the minute I've known, some higher ups, Saudis who would come to America, and man, they would have a ball.
yes,
So,
right, okay,
um, religious, and devout people, they're not above sin.
right. So
It
that's
depends
the
on
point.
where they. It
That's
depends on where they are. It depends on the level of temptation, etc.
okay. Okay. So now let's say, for instance, yeah, we're in the place where you just said where they don't have alcohol. Okay. Now let's say, for instance, according to sorry, and they don't have porn. They don't have porn in Saudi Arabia. So now let's go to places
Well,
where
you can get it.
all right, but
I-
I'm saying by law. I'm saying by law, Stanley. Just by law, right?
right.
Just by law, right? Now I'm saying, yeah, that I'm gonna say to the Jews, how do you feel about porn? Yeah. Now they're gonna say, well,
Well,
it's
wait.
forbidden. It's
Are we
forbidden
talking
for us.
Saudi or are we talking Jews?
Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia. Now there's Jews living in Saudi Arabia as well. Now I'm gonna say to them, do you know
I
what?
bet they feel safe.
I'm gonna say to them, do you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna take away porn because I know you guys don't agree with porn. I'm gonna then say to the Christians there as well, do you know what? I'm gonna take away porn because you know you guys don't agree with it. It's part of your faith. Now that's very much accommodating, yeah, and very much people can generally get along because that's something that is not an obstacle in their way, not something freely in their society that they can fight amongst each other. There's no, they will just shut it down. Anyone caught or anyone, no if, no but, no court, no oh poor me, nothing. It won't exist. Okay. Now
Okay.
let's go to America. Okay. Now you have these people, right, that you know that they've got their faiths, yeah, but you don't give a shit because you know what they're going to do. They're going to be more for their faith or they're going to be more for that money. And then they're going to struggle because there's going to be other people that are going to be more for their faith, more for their money. And then you're going to have another faith that are going to be so etc etc etc. So these people that are at the top, call them the 1%, call them the Zionists, call them the bankers, are laughing because they're providing them with the mosque, they're providing with this, they're providing and they're catering for everybody. But guess what? we're all pissed off, and then we want to
Who
blame
is
on the
we?
color. Huh?
Who is we?
I'm just saying, like, the general population might have a problem because these lot didn't get reparations. So they're like, oh, how come these guys have got reparations? How come the Red Indians have got reparations? How
Okay,
come
so we went from porn to reparations.
Yeah, the point is, what I'm basically trying to say is that the way how the systems work is that they don't care who you are. It's just that we're fighting amongst each other rather than going to the people who are actually in charge of making these decisions.
Okay, well, I'm not sure I follow you. So in America, we went from Saudi Arabia, where it's very easy to ban anything they want to ban because it's essentially a theocracy, to the United States, where there is a pretty, constitutional separation of church and state. And you mentioned Muslims in the U.S. Well, Muslims in the U.S. Are here, but I don't really think, there's a separation of church and state, period.
So are
And
they the same?
it is hard coded in. Well, let me finish what I'm saying. It's hard coded in the Constitution. It doesn't matter whether you're Christian, Muslim, Jewish, whatever your faith is. You will not, the moral majority, which were, a bunch of evangelical Christians, they'd have banned porn 30 years ago, but you can't. It's free speech. And the only way to change that would be, to basically amend the Constitution. And there are Christians, Muslims, and Jews who wouldn't allow that to happen. So essentially, the people, the hardline evangelical fundamentalists, it doesn't matter your faith, they are a minority. Because if they weren't, we'd have changed 100 years ago.
Yeah. So
as a matter of fact, we'd also probably still have slavery.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to basically say, man. Like, there's so many different people that are from different lands,
right?
That are trying to do what they do, but they,
well,
they've got their own morals and they've got their own way of life.
No, not in the U.S. When you say they're from different lands, their origins may be from different lands, but I would say an overwhelming majority of voters, especially an overwhelming majority of citizens, have either been born here or spent enough time to attain citizenship. Foreign lands, the majority of people in the U.S. are not from foreign lands.
So why is there a divide of separation with Mexicans? Why do you want to build a wall? And why is there all like you saying all this why is all this mix up there?
You know what? Because someone had an idea to build a wall. My question to you, is that wall finished? The answer is no. Because it ran up against opposition.
And why is there anguish towards after 9/11 and all that type of stuff there,
I'm sorry, there's what after 9/11?
A lot of anguish towards the Muslims and the Islamic faith there.
I don't know that there's a lot.
And obviously, with the China stuff going on and Russia in particular.
I'm not sure Why is there anger?
Yeah.
Because people, probably extremists, which I've warned against, there are extreme pockets who have, anger, you know, the white nationalists have anger against anybody who's not white or who just is so assimilationist that they are into living white. They're extremists who have anger against other things. I mean, there are black people in America who hate whites. Um, you know, there are pockets of hate everywhere, but the good thing, one thing America does have going for it is most people are sane and actually work hard enough that being angry all the time takes a lot of energy. And I had more energy when I was younger to hate something. These days, if it's not like an immediate threat or a midterm threat, the people who have time to hate like that, they need to get a job because they have too much time on their hands. So yeah, there's anger, but the majority of pretty much any group. I mean, I've had great Muslim friends, and again, you have extremists and you have people who are flexible enough. You know when to say yes, you know when to say no. You don't have to watch porn if you don't want to. No one's gonna knock on your door and say, hand you, a VHS, a VHS cassette of porn and, force you to watch it.
Yeah, but no one really wants to be reminded about Black History Month, but it's there. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you know what? We've got
No,
the
no one really
corporations.
wants.
The
No one really wants
corporations
to
will
see
remind you.
no one really wants to, be reminded of this and be reminded of that. But that's
I
when you.
disagree.
Well, why would you want to be reminded?
Well, you have to actually think about what you asked. There are people who don't want to be reminded, but I would dare say that it's not a majority of any group. What was it last year? There's a Juneteenth holiday, and it's not actually. I would have changed it.
What does that even
But,
mean? What's the Juneteenth? What does that mean?
it's the June. What is it? June 19th, 1865, Galveston, Texas. I can't remember the general's name, but Texas had slavery past the Emancipation Proclamation because back then, news traveled slow. So the slaves in Texas learned that they were free people on that date, and it turned into a holiday. And at first, it was just celebrated in Texas. And then in the early 20th century, when there was black migration, from Texas to other places, the holiday kind of spread. But the bottom line is, after I don't even know how many decades, it's a federal holiday now, basically celebrating slaves being freed. But technically, every slave didn't get freed until December 31st of 1865. I think it was the 13th Amendment that took effect. However, it's a holiday that is celebrated. It used to be more a black community thing, but now it's a federal holiday. So my point is, if you don't want a reminder, there's Martin Luther King Day, there's Juneteenth. You're going to be reminded whether you want to or not. And, only the extremists get irritated at being reminded of something. I think people who are even tempered and have jobs and, more personal worries, you know, if you don't want to be reminded, don't watch TV. You have choices. And choices you might not have in Saudi Arabia. So anyway, I blathered on. I'm sorry. I kind of went off on a tangent. Did I bore y'all to sleep?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Walter there, man. But big up you lot, man. I had to just deal with little man quickly, but I was kind of half hearing the conversation. I was a bit in and out there. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, Tuesday. What can I say? It's been an all right one, man. I did enjoy that little debate we had there as well, Natty. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what happened to Laughing Tom, but yeah, it went a bit crazy for a little while there. Where's Stan? He's back. Stan's back. Well, go on, Stan.
Oh, hey, you know what? If y'all didn't hear me, that's fine because I kind of went off on one of my famous tangents.
I'll be honest. I was kind of watching the screen, but I was kind of like dealing with little man. I had to go and warm up.
Oh, really? How's he doing?
He's good, man. He's here looking at me, smiling and that.
No big poopy diaper today.
Yeah, he's got the big poopers, man. The big pooper. That's what we call him, pooper man. He's the real pooper man.
Well, good for you. You better enjoy it.
Come on. Pooper man will be flying tomorrow, man. He'll be flying every day. Ain't that right, Pooper?
Well, don't call him that in front of his mother.
Oh, what, Pooper man?
Yeah.
Don't make me laugh.
I have some stories about, running jokes with my son that my wife didn't particularly like.
What, like the Pooper man joke?
No, my son and I used to play this game called Bite.
Yeah. What do you mean the game called Bite? Explain.
BITE.
Okay,
and I don't know how it came up, but he would put his finger in my mouth. Now, this was like early in the morning. I would get him out of his crib because I worked a flex shift. So in the mornings, I was there with him. So, he'd be ready to get up and I'd change his diaper and all this stuff and, wait for his mother to get home. So one day, I don't even remember how it started, but it was like he had just gotten teeth, and he would put his finger in my mouth, and I would just kind of nibble on it or bite it a little bit, and I'd put my finger in his mouth, and he would kind of test, if it got too, if he bit too hard, I would go, ow. It just went like that. So, if it got, if he hurt too much, I would go, ow, and he would know not to. I guess it was just guys hanging out. So one day I'm at work and my wife calls me, and she wasn't furious, but she was like, "What have you been doing with your son?" He tells me that you and he play a game called Bite. So I kind of chuckled. I'm like, well, yeah, we play it, it's harmless. And she's like, he bit me. I was just like, oh, well, I guess I better not play that game anymore. She was not amused.
I hear you still. I don't know. Maybe she just got a bit of an anxiety about you biting off his fingers. Oh no.
No, I wouldn't bite his finger hard.
I know, but sometimes people just got anxieties, don't they? They got anxieties. They can't deal with.
No, she knew me. She knew, hey, are you mad? That was probably what she was thinking. And
I hear you.
I don't think, when do babies get teeth? I don't he might have been just at about a year old. He wasn't that, that old, and he was fun to play with, so. But the game, we retired the game rather quickly after that.
I hear you still. I hear you. But maybe
Where'd
that was
Natty
the
go?
problem. What's that?
Oh, I see. I was asking, where did Natty go?
No, he went basically to do something. Oh no, his signal. He says his signal.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, it says his signal.
Well,
But yeah,
I don't
man.
know. Basically, my whole thing, if you didn't hear it, is I just think that, I think, and I think you got the gist. I think extreme anything is bad. It doesn't matter, what it is. Being extreme is just not a good thing, in my opinion, to be. Extreme vegan, extreme meat eater, extreme anything. Um, Extreme sports. I can't think of something that you put extreme before that is particularly healthy.
No, I hear you still. I'm hearing you, man. But I think we're gonna wrap the show up now anyway. But I
Okay.
think for all the mums out there with anxieties about dads being around their kids and biting their fingers or putting their fingers in their ears or chucking
Oh,
them
it
up in the
wasn't
air,
that bad.
don't be too anxious because I'll be chucking my son up in the air and catching him. I don't drop him. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Yeah, we do flying, man. Yeah, you gonna do flying? Like, whee! Don't worry, I didn't really throw him in the air. Anyone who was anxious there, but
Well, wait till he's at least a year old, and
yeah,
and kind of walking. Because I could remember some times when my son was walking and beginning to walk, and he would fall, and I'm like, ooh, that had to hurt.
have we got nothing? Come back. What's up, sis?
Yeah, I just dropped down because that audio just went.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was just going round and round in circles. I was starting to feel a
Yeah,
bit
that was
paranoid.
bad.
I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah. I kind of figured.
I was like, what's YouTube doing here?
Yeah, do you know what it is? It was like a mirror effect. It was like it echoed through
Yeah, it was just
someone's system,
echoing
then
more and
to
more.
another
But it went
one,
on for
and
ages.
yeah, it was never ending.
I've
I
never
had to
heard
mute
that.
everything.
I kept
Literally,
hearing myself. I was like, why
I
am I
thought,
hearing myself?
I literally thought it was a particular person's thing in it. So I muted
Yeah.
everyone, and then it was still going, but then eventually it stopped. So yeah.
See, you know what that was? That was a sign.
Come on.
That was a
Well,
sign. That was a global sign.
Come on, at
That
least we got you back before we ended the show, because I was going to say that was more like, that was an intervention. That was like the Most High saying, listen, you've done enough talking now.
Yeah, exactly.
Just choose your position, innit? Choose your side.
Yeah, just step down. I've done enough talking for the day. Let the men talk.
Come on.
You know?
Now we're done as well. We've had
Yeah,
enough
but
talk for one day.
I just wanted just to explain that. But yeah, it was a good show. I enjoyed myself.
It was. And I'll be honest with you, I think you raised the best debate today and you made the best arguments. They were very well constructed. You know, I think we had the best conversation. Natty, I think we still got to work out some parts of your debate. Maybe on another day we'll do debate again and we'll do
Natty just has a different strategy. He's more blunt.
Yeah, he is quite.
He's more blunt. And to be honest, I like those kind of questions because those are the challenging ones.
Yeah, and it does give it a bit of an edge as well. It makes it
gives it a bit of pepper, a bit of spice.
Yeah. We'll give him that still. All right, so big up, sis. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, take care of little man.
Come on. You know how we do it. Big up to Jay Savage, 92 Dread, Mr. Pilu, Urban Analysis, and anyone else's name I can see on the screen. Obviously, Stanley, you're here. Who else we got out there? Because I know I did see some more of you. Streets in Scotland, Cotton Socks, Triller, Video Tracks. Everyone who was here, appreciate you. We'll be gone till tomorrow, but we'll be back again. All right, we out. I'm gonna do some intro music. Big up, Stan. I'll catch you tomorrow, broski.
Take it easy.
Nice one, bro. Yeah, we're gonna do some outro music and we out of here. But make sure you tune in tomorrow. Make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe and notification bell if you're new and all of that good stuff. You know, if you've been here before, like try and share if you can. If you can't, we ain't hating on you. I ain't mad at you. Got number love for you. Do your thing, boy. And I ain't Tupac, so I'm gonna admit that I stole that line. Yeah. All right, let's do the outro.
You don't know that, can't do that. Yeah, no, I can't do that. Yeah. Yo, can't certain links in my phone, man's deadin'. I got too many pen gas breading. And girl, I run man down, stop begging. I done told you I ain't looking no wedding. Man's not petting, girl, I text and checking. Telly was the setting, hot, you got the wetting. One